Chapter 1103, Reasoning with a Bear. When the strong bear saw that the old bear had not moved, it proudly roared a few times. Wu Heng stood at the back and laughed arrogantly. Yun Chujiu, didn't you say that you have already gained control of that old bear? Why is it still lying there? It seems that you are spouting nonsense. You are going to lose for sure. It's better for you to quickly kneel and admit defeat. Yun Chujiu ignored him. Instead, she looked at the strong bear. With one hand on her waist, she pointed at the strong bear and scolded, "You stupid bear. Have you forgotten what I've taught you?" The strong bear was dumbfounded after being scolded. It thought to itself, could this little girl be mentally challenged? Last time, I've taught you that since you want to cultivate the path of longevity, you have to look at all aspects of the human race. Your hygiene is very good now, but why are you acting like a hooligan now? The reason why people are called human is that they have to be virtuous and respect the elderly and love the young. This old bear is your elder. You have no grudges and have lived together for many years. Do you have the heart to humiliate it like this? Don't you think about how you will feel when other bears humiliate you when you are old? Yun Chujiu said bitterly with a look of resentment. The strong bear, old bear, and everyone else were all dumbfounded. Trying to reason with the bear. Was Yun Chujiu crazy? That bear was a demon beast, how could it understand such logic? Wu Heng laughed out loud, "Yun Chujiu, are you stupid? If these beasts can act like us humans, how can they still be called beasts? Smelly bear, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and attack that useless old bear." When the strong bear heard Wu Heng's words, it roared unhappily, but it still walked towards the old bear. Although Yun Chujiu's words touched it a little, now it was being controlled by someone else. If it did not follow the orders of the person who controlled it, its spiritual sense would be in great pain. In order not to suffer, it had to listen to the fatty. Stop! Are you that cheap? He called you a smelly bear, yet you still listen to him. Where is your pride and moral integrity as a demon beast? To think that you are so big and have no brains at all. If you attack your elders according to his orders today, you will not be able to cultivate the great Tao in your lifetime. This will be the humiliation of your lifetime. Yun Chujiu shouted sternly. The strong bear was stunned by Yun Chujiu's imposing manner and stood motionless. At that moment, it felt that its bare brain could no longer bear it. Although it should listen to the orders of the person who commanded it, why did it feel that what the little girl said made sense? It was too disgraceful to listen to the orders of that damn fatty and attack its elders. Wu Heng's heart sank when he saw that the strong bear had stopped where it was. He used his spiritual sense to test the strong bears. What are you stopping for? Hurry up and attack. The strong bear's spiritual sense was in pain. It no longer cared about Yun Chujiu's words and rushed towards the old bear. Yun Chujiu rolled her eyes and shouted at the old bear, "Old bear, get lost." The old bear instinctively followed Yun Chujiu's instructions and rolled on the ground, dodging the strong bear's attack. Yun Chujiu continued to shout, "Old bear, do you want to regain your former prestige? Do you want to establish your dominance as an elder bear in front of this bear cub? If you do, take the initiative to establish a spiritual connection with me. If you want to live like this for the rest of your life, then give up on yourself." Chapter 1104, A Success. At that time, Old Bear was left in a sorry state after being chased around by the strong bear. When he heard Yun Chujiu's words, he impulsively took the initiative to establish a spiritual connection with Yun Chujiu. It was the first time Yun Chujiu used the beast taming technique. She finally succeeded after she stumbled for a while. She laughed arrogantly, "Ha ha ha. I succeeded. I finally succeeded." The corners of the audience's eyes twitched violently. She had been able to successfully control the beast entirely through her words. It was estimated that throughout the ages, the only person who had succeeded in doing that was Yun Chujiu. What a freak. At that moment, the old bear's heart was on the verge of collapse. Had it made an irreparable mistake? Why did it feel that that little girl was very out of tune? Wu Heng never expected that Yun Chuzhou would succeed in her attempt to control the bear. It was truly detestable. However, he sneered and said, "Yun Chuzhou, although you succeeded in controlling the bear, can that old and stupid bear of yours beat my strong bear? Accept your defeat." As he finished his taunt, Wu Heng immediately used his spiritual sense to order the strong bear to kill the old bear. Although he only needed to defeat the bear in the competition, Wu Heng ordered the bear to be killed to vent his anger. Since his uncle was taking care of things, he was not afraid of the consequences. Although the strong bear was unwilling, its spiritual sense was being controlled, so it could only obey Wu Heng's order to attack the old bear. Yun Chuzhou secretly used her spiritual sense to tell the old bear, "Old bear, you tell that strong bear to take the initiative to establish a spiritual sense connection with me. I will help it cut off Wu Heng's spiritual sense. You two stall for time and run around crazily. Throw around the sand on the ground and howl for me." Although the old bear was old and weak, it was still strong when it was young. Naturally, it did not want to be defeated by the strong bear. Therefore, it relayed Yun Chuzhou's words to the strong bear, and the strong bear agreed because it hated the damn fatty who called it a smelly bear. He was the smelly one, his whole family is smelly. Humans are usually hygienic but you are not. Therefore, everyone was dumbfounded as they watched the two violent barbaric bears start to run around crazily. The two bears were huge, and the sand on the ground was thrown up in their wake. The sand obscured the view and they could only hear the sky-shaking roars of the two barbaric bears. Wu Heng felt that there was no suspense in the outcome of the battle. He said to Yun Chuzhou with disdain, "Yun Chuzhou, you are struggling in vain. That old bear of yours is no match for this bear of mine. It will definitely lose in less than 15 minutes. Yun Chuzhou looked at him with a faint smile. "Indeed. In less than 15 minutes, we will see the result. However, the person who will lose will not be me, but you." Wu Heng could not help but laugh out loud. "Yun Chuzhou, keep your mouth shut. I'll see how you beg for mercy later." The people in the stands also discussed the situation that unfolded. Although Yun Chuzhou successfully controlled the old bear, it was not a match for the strong bear at all. She will definitely lose. This is all her fault. She should have just chosen a stronger bear. Forget it. That old bear was successfully tricked by her words. Can she even successfully control a stronger one? You're right. Although Yun Chuzhou being able to control a strong bear is impossible, she will still lose. What a pity. Instructor Qian also sighed. That Yun Chuzhou was a good candidate to learn beast taming. However, she would definitely lose this competition. He did not know if the little girl would be able to recover from the setback of the loss. Chapter 1105, Spiritual Sense cut off. As time passed, Wu Heng became even more pleased with himself. It was because the information the strong bear had given him was that the old bear was about to die. Suddenly, Wu Heng felt a sharp pain in his spiritual sense. The connection with strong bear's spiritual sense had been severed. Wu Heng immediately fainted from the pain. Yun Chuzhou covered her mouth in shock. "Damn, why did you faint? Don't tell me you think that since you're facing defeat, you dare not face reality." Instructor Wu immediately stood up from the stands. What was going on? Why did Heng Er suddenly faint? Could it be that Yun Chuzhou had used some despicable trick? The distance between the two of them was not very close, so even if she wanted to use a secret move, she could not. Instructor Bai saw that Wu Heng had fainted and hurriedly ran over. After feeding Wu Heng a recovery pill, Wu Heng woke up. He covered his head and screamed, "My spiritual sense with the bear has been cut off. My spiritual sense was damaged." Instructor Bai and everyone in the stands was stunned. Spiritual sense was cut off. How was this possible? Wu Heng was at the 8th level of the spirit sect, and the barbaric bear was only at the 16th level. It could not possibly cut off Wu Heng's spiritual sense. Then, who did it? At that moment, Yun Chuzhou said with disdain, Wu Heng, in order not to kneel and admit your mistake, you pretended to be injured. How shameless! How could your spiritual sense be cut off by someone else? The strong bear's spiritual sense is not as strong as yours. Could it be that it was cut off by Instructor Bai? Or are you trying to frame me for cutting off your spiritual sense? You're talking nonsense. My spiritual sense was clearly cut off by someone. Wu Heng endured the pain of his spiritual sense and roared. Forget it. You either pretended to be injured or you're not good at beast taming in the first place. During the process of controlling it, you went crazy and that's why you injured your spiritual sense. Oh right, a few days ago, you couldn't control it successfully. Today, you succeeded in one go. Could it be that you used some evil trick and that's why you went crazy? It's karma. Yun Chuzhou clapped her hands and said. After hearing Yun Chuzhou's words, Wu Heng felt a little guilty. Could it be that he went berserk? When his uncle gave him the bewitching beast powder, he did not mention any side effects. Yun Chuzhou was very smart. When she saw Wu Heng's expression, she knew that she had guessed correctly by accident, thus, she said with disdain, if you insist that your spiritual sense was cut off by someone, then get Dean Huangfu and some instructors to come over and check it out. Well, start with your body and see if you went berserk. No need. No need to check me. I'm fine. It's just a relapse from an old illness. I'm much better now. Let's continue the competition. Wu Heng was afraid that he would be exposed, so he forced himself to stand up. It's good that you're fine. But we don't have to compete anymore. Look, that strong bear of yours has already lost. Yun Chuzhou pointed forward and saw that the strong bear was being slapped by the old bear. The old bear slapped and used its spiritual sense to say to the strong bear, bear with it. The little girl said that as long as you cooperate with me and act well in this show, she won't mistreat us. The strong bear was still in a daze. Damn, that little girl only at the first level of the spirit sect. How did she cut off that damn fatty's spiritual sense? It originally thought that she was just boasting. Wu Heng's head buzzed. He lost. No. He could not lose. He glanced at Instructor Bai, who nodded indiscernibly. Then, the 6 barbaric bears that were originally locked in the cage roared and charged toward Yun Chuzhou. Chapter 1106, Blazing Hurricane Tiger. Although the spectators were all shocked, they were not too worried. The instructors in the Spirit Beast Park were different from the instructors in charge of their classes. Their spiritual power was much lower, and they were all at the level of a spirit saint. Although Instructor Bai was only at the 6th level of the spirit saint realm, it was not a problem for him to deal with 6 barbaric bears. Unexpectedly, several angry roars came from the cage covered with a black cloth. 6 21st level blazing hurricane tigers rushed out from the cage. Oh my god! Level 21 is equivalent to the 3rd level of the Spirit Saint realm. Even Instructor Bai can't deal with so many blazing hurricane tigers. There are 6 barbaric bears as well. Ah, no, there are 8. Those 2 might also turn violent. Instructor Qian, open the array quickly. Let's hurry down and save them. Instructor Qian's forehead was covered in sweat. He wanted to open the array formation separating the field from the spectators, but when the barbaric bears rushed out, he realized that the array formation could not be opened. What's going on? Quick! Someone! Quickly turn off the array formation. Saving her is more important. Instructor Wu shouted anxiously, but he sneered in his heart. A little girl dared to fight with him. Even if he killed her today, Instructor Bai would be the one charged with negligence. Deputy Dean Yin would not receive too severe a punishment after it was over. The worst-case scenario would be that he would be fired. When the time came, he would just continue to help the Yin family. The stands were in complete chaos. The beast-taming field's array formation was to prevent demon beasts from hurting people, so the level of the array formation was quite high. The fastest way was to turn off the formation disc. However, would Yun Chuzhou and the others be able to hold on until then? The crowd also discovered one thing, and that was that regardless of whether it was the barbaric bears or the blazing hurricane tiger, they all rushed towards Yun Chuzhou. They completely ignored Instructor Bai and Wu Heng who stood on the other side. Yun Chuzhou sneered in her heart. So this was their move. Their methods were so clumsy. Were they prepared to give up on Instructor Bai as a chess piece? If that were true, it was worth it for them to sacrifice her for their revenge. Damn it. It was not that easy to take Yun Chuzhi's life. As a last resort, she could still use the concealment talisman and sudden rupture talisman given to her by the pretty boy. However, she did not want to reveal her trump card yet. She would try other methods first. If that did not work, she would activate the concealment talisman again. Yun Chuzhou thought of that and ran towards Instructor Bai and the others. Heavens, the demon beasts have gone crazy. Instructor Bai, save us. Instructor Bai's lips curled into a cold smile. Save us? If it was not for the fact that I was afraid of being too explicit, I would have slapped you to death. There's no way I can save you. Instructor Bai gave Wu Heng a look, and Wu Heng let out a blood-curdling scream as he fell onto Instructor Bai's body. Instructor Bai said anxiously, Yun Chuzhou, Wu Heng has fainted. I'll bring him to a safe place first. You hold on for a while, someone will save us soon. Instructor Bai wanted to carry Wu Heng away after saying that, but he did not expect Yun Chuzhou to run after him like a stalker. She even shouted, Instructor Bai, I'm only at the first level of the spirit sect, how can I hold off these demon beasts? I'll carry Senior Wu Heng, you fight off the demon beasts. As an instructor, don't tell me you want to sacrifice your student to save your own life. Instructor Bai was so angry that his teeth were itched. This Yun Chuzhou was too crafty. Those demon beasts did not care about human affairs. Seeing Yun Chuzhou hide behind Instructor Bai, they threw a few wind blades at Instructor Bai. Instructor Bai was so angry that he rolled his eyes. You idiots, that little girl is your target. Why are you attacking me? Chapter 1107, flowed with the blood of nobility. Yun Chuzhou, who hid behind Instructor Bai, could not help but click her tongue as she watched. Damn, these high-level demon beasts were indeed powerful. Not only were there many wind blades, but they were also extremely fast. Instructor Bai was naturally unwilling to be Yun Chuzhi's shield. He found an opening and carried Wu Heng, leaped some distance away. Yun Chuzhou wanted to chase after him, but she was blocked by a few barbaric bears. Yun Chuzhou was confused. She did not have any physical contact with Wu Heng and Instructor Bai. What did they do? Why did these demonic beasts have to attack her? Old bear, old bear. Quickly ask, why are your companions coming after me? Yun Chuzhou asked the old bear with her spiritual sense as she ran. Old bear and strong bear were still in a daze. When they heard Yun Chuzhi's order, old bear roared a few times. The barbaric bears also roared back angrily. Little girl, they said that Bai controlled them and ordered them to kill you. Fuck, it was indeed Bai's trick. Was he stalling for time or using talismans? Old bear, quickly tell them back off. I won't mistreat them in the future if they do. It was better to focus on one problem at a time and take care of the barbaric bears first. Then, she would think of a way to deal with the 6 blazing hurricane tigers. The 6 barbaric bears had a good impression of Yun Chuzhou. Since there were so many beasts, they could not tell what was going on. It was all they could do to hold back or even help Yun Chuzhou avoid the 6 hurricane flaming tigers. However, the barbaric bears' levels were much lower than the blazing hurricane tigers, so they could only help her a little. Yun Chujio was eventually forced into a corner by the 6 hurricane flaming tigers. The 6 hurricane flaming tigers drooled as they stared at Yun Chujio greedily. "Stop! My lords, there's a saying. When a man is about to die, his words are kind. Can you listen to my last words?" Yun Chujio said pitifully. The 6 hurricane flaming tigers felt that Yun Chujio would not escape from them at that point. They were like a cat playing with a mouse, ready to listen to what Yun Chujio had to say. "My lords tigers, you are different from other demon beasts. You have noble blood flowing through your bodies." Yun Chujio paused at that point. The 6 hurricane tigers waited for Yun Chujio to continue. Who did not like to hear good things said about themselves? Demon beasts were no exception. Moreover, the word noble really made the beasts feel empowered. Yun Chujio saw that the group of stupid tigers had taken the bait. She was delighted and continued, "In the secular world, what is a tiger? It is the king of all beasts. What kind of animal would not be obedient to a tiger?" The 6 blazing hurricane tiger nodded their heads. What the little girl said made sense. They had the word king on their foreheads. Yun Chujio continued, "Also, the divine beast white tiger is even more amazing. Who would dare to compete with one of the 4 great divine beasts? Who knows, the few of you might have the bloodline of the divine beast white tiger. When the time is ripe, the hidden bloodline will be activated. Are you still worried about not being able to cultivate the great Tao?" As they heard Yun Chujio's words, the 6 blazing hurricane tiger felt that they were about to float from all the praise. "Oh my God, the divine beast white tiger, if they had the bloodline of the divine beast white tiger, they would be the kings among the demon beasts of the Tianyuan continent." When they were daydreaming of what they could become, they were struck by a wave of pain in their divine senses. The person that controlled them gave the order to attack, and the 6 hurricane flaming tigers opened their big bloody mouths and were about to maul Yun Chujio. She quickly waved her hands and said, "Wait. My lords, I still have a few more words to say. It's not too late to eat me after you let me finish." Chapter 1108, Who is the Master? 6 hurricane tigers roared a few times as they showed their impatience at Yun Chujio. "My lords, since I'm going to die anyway, I'll speak frankly. It'll be difficult for you to achieve great Tao if you don't let me finish. But once I'm done talking, you can eat me." Yun Chujio's small body straightened. She had her eyes closed and seemed ready to accept her fate. In fact, in her left hand, she held a concealment amulet while her right hand held a burst amulet. If the tigers took another step, she would attack first. The 6 hurricane flaming tigers stopped in their tracks. They were most concerned about cultivating the great Tao. When they heard what Yun Chujio said, how could they let it go? They roared angrily and wanted Yun Chujio to continue. The hurricane flaming tiger and Yun Chujio looked at each other, then they asked, "What is the great Tao? What is the great Tao?" The great Tao has its own principles and follows its own nature. What is the nature of tigers? It is to live a noble and unrestrained life, but what about you now? You have become a tool used by others to gang up on a weakling like me. Where is your nobility? Where is your unrestrained nature? You have already lost the most basic principles of the great Tao. How are you going to cultivate the great Tao in your current state? Yun Chujio spewed nonsense through her nose and eyes. However, she spoke about the heart of these blazing hurricane tigers. Any demon beast would not be willing to be kept in captivity, let alone a 21st level blazing hurricane tiger. They are violent, undisciplined, and have never been tamed, which is why they were trapped in cages and covered with black cloth. Yun Chujio decided to strike while the iron was hot. She said in a low voice, "The person who controlled you is a bastard. Now you have a chance to take revenge on him. You guys take the initiative to establish a connection with me. It'll help you cut off his spiritual sense. If so many spiritual senses are cut off at once, his spiritual sense will definitely be damaged. He won't be able to recover without a year or so of rest. When the time comes, he'll think of a way to help you regain your freedom. How about it? Do you dare to do it? Yun Chujio also intentionally worded her question provocatively. She did not ask, "Do you agree," but, "Do you dare to do it?" Those blazing hurricane tiger could not bear to be provoked, so they immediately nodded their huge heads. Roar! Yun Chujio thought to herself, after all, demon beasts were demon beasts. Did they not think that her spiritual sense might not be as strong as the person who controlled them? However, that was also what was charming about demon beasts. They were really easy to fool. However, Yun Chujio had not lied to them. She intended to cut off the spiritual sense of the person behind the scenes. She had confidence in her spiritual sense. She was not even afraid of the weapon spirits of thousands of spirit tools. How could she be afraid of this? The 6 blazing hurricane tigers took the initiative to establish a spiritual sense connection with Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio did not hesitate and immediately cut off all the spiritual sense imprints in their spiritual senses like she was cutting melons and vegetables. She also did the same thing and wiped out all 6 of the barbaric bear's psychic imprints. Instructor Bai fainted on the ground, but Yun Chujio frowned. That's not right. Why did he not react when she cut off the blazing hurricane tiger's spiritual imprints just now? Could it be that only 6 barbaric bears were under his control? Who controlled the blazing hurricane tigers then? Kittens, who was controlling you? Yun Chujio changed her face faster than flipping a book. When she had not established a spiritual connection with the blazing hurricane tigers earlier, she called them Sir Tiger. Now, they had become kittens. Although the 6 blazing hurricane tigers wanted to kill her, they were now under her control. They could only respond obediently. "We have never seen the person who controlled us, so don't know who did it." Yun Chujio frowned. There was a range limit when one controlled demon beasts. The person who controlled the hurricane flaming tigers was at least an intermediate beast tamer. Moreover, that person must be in the stands. Who could it be? Chapter 1109, Lacked 8 lifetimes of virtue. The first person Yun Chujio suspected was Instructor Wu. Regardless of whether it was his motive or identity, he was the most suspicious candidate. However, she was afraid that she would not be able to catch him in the act. Instructor Wu, who was in the stands, suddenly lost control of the blazing hurricane tigers. Moreover, his spiritual sense had suffered quite a bit of damage. To prevent himself from giving himself away, he gritted his teeth and did not make a sound even though his forehead was filled with beads of sweat. What was going on? How could his spiritual sense be cut off by someone? Who did it? The first person Instructor Wu suspected was Instructor Qian, who anxiously looked down at the field. It must have been Instructor Qian. He had always disliked him, and his beast master level was higher than his. He must have used some secret method to cut off his spiritual sense. Damn it! Instructor Qian, who was horrified and ready to take the blame for what had happened, looked down with a dumbfounded expression. He originally thought that Yun Chujio was doomed. After all, how could she survive being besieged by 6 level 21 blazing hurricane tigers? However, why did those blazing hurricane tigers only surround her and not attack? Also, why did those blazing hurricane tigers and barbaric bears instead turn to attack Instructor Bai and Wu Heng? These demon beasts hated the person who had controlled them to death. Since they could not eat the person who controlled them, it was not a bad idea to eat those 2 accomplices instead. Therefore, they attacked Instructor Bai and Wu Heng without hesitation. Instructor Bai had already woken up. Although his spiritual power was higher than the blazing hurricane tigers, he could not deal with all 6 of them alone. Moreover, there were an additional 8 barbaric bears to contend with. Yun Chujio lay on the ground and looked as if she had fainted from fright. In fact, her eyes were wide open, and she watched the show with a smile. Instructor Bai and Wu Heng did not have the time to look at Yun Chuzhou. The two of them were exhausted as they fought for their lives, and their bodies were soon covered in blood. Instructor Wu shouted anxiously in the stands, "Why haven't the people who went to destroy the formation plate reported back? What are they doing?" Instructor Qian could not help but sneer in his heart. "I did not see you being anxious before, but now that your nephew is in danger, you finally show your true colors. This time, it must be the uncle and nephew's doing." However, he did not expect that he would be shot in the foot. That little girl Yun Chuzhou is amazing. When Instructor Bai and Wu Heng were at death's door, the formation was finally opened. Instructor Wu was the first to jump down. Before he could make a move, the blazing hurricane tiger and the barbaric bears nimbly ran back into their cages, as if the violent outburst just now was an illusion. Instructor Wu had no time to care about those demon beasts. He hurriedly took out some healing pills, then fed them to Wu Heng and Instructor Bai. Although the two of them were able to keep their lives, they would not be able to get out of bed for at least a month, especially since their spiritual senses had been damaged. It would take at least half a year for their spiritual sense to recover. Dean Huangfu and a few vice deans had rushed over after such a big incident. Yun Chuzhou also slowly woke up at this time. She slapped her thigh and howled, "Dean, sir, you have to decide for me. Those demon beasts were controlled by someone. The order they received was to kill me. The person who controlled them is really heartless. They were deprived of 8 lifetimes of virtue and would die a horrible death." Instructor Qian immediately established contact with those demon beasts and asked who was it that controlled them. Dean Huangfu's face was as dark as water. Everyone came to the front of the 2 cages. After Instructor Qian asked, he said, "The barbaric bears said that the person who controlled them was Instructor Bai, but the blazing hurricane tigers don't know who the person who controlled them was." Chapter 11:10, Retribution for Evil. Instructor Wu gave Instructor Bai a veiled glance. Instructor Bai gritted his teeth, then said loudly, "That's right. I was the one who controlled the barbaric bears. I was also the one who controlled those blazing hurricane tigers. Last time, Yun Chuzhou made me lose face. I just wanted to scare her so that she wouldn't be so arrogant in the future." Everyone was in an uproar. Instructor Bai was too sinister. He actually planned such a vicious scheme just because Yun Chuzhou embarrassed him. Scare her. He probably wanted to take Yun Chuzhou's life. Such a person was simply unworthy of being an instructor of Tianyuan Academy. Instructor Qian frowned. "Instructor Bai, with your cultivation level, I'm afraid you can't possibly control 6 blazing hurricane tigers at the same time, right? Could it be that you're taking the blame for others?" Instructor Bai paused for a moment, then, he said, "According to normal methods, I naturally wouldn't be able to control so many demon beasts at the same time. However, I used the bewitching beast powder, and they could only obediently establish a spiritual connection with me. That's why I went berserk and my spiritual sense was damaged." "What? You used the bewitching beast powder? Do you know that the bewitching beast powder will cause great harm to the spiritual senses of the demon beasts? It's likely that they won't be able to advance in rank in the future." "Shameless scum!" Instructor Qian said angrily. When the barbaric bears and blazing hurricane tigers inside the cage heard Instructor Qian's words, they immediately roared in anger. Fuck! They should have bitten that Bai guy to death just now. He actually destroyed their path to immortality. Yun Chuzhou, who stood at the side, blinked her eyes and used her spiritual sense to quietly say to the blazing hurricane tigers, "What are you guys still standing there for? Why aren't you taking the opportunity to bite him to death?" As those demon beasts entered the cage of their own accord, the cage was not locked. Instructor Bai was the closest to the cage. A few blazing hurricane tigers jumped out and pounced on Instructor Bai. Instructor Bai's injuries were already very serious, so he was helpless. He could only shout for help. Although Dean Huangfu and the others saw what happened, they did not want to stop it. Such a person deserved to die. Instructor Wu was even more eager to silence the blazing hurricane tigers and did not help him. Instructor Bai was swallowed by the blazing hurricane tiger right in front of everyone's eyes. After the blazing hurricane tiger ate Instructor Bai, it roared angrily at Wu Heng who lay at the side. Wu Heng was so scared that his pants were wet. He was afraid that the blazing hurricane tiger would swallow him as well. Fortunately, Instructor Wu stood by his side. Those blazing hurricane tigers were forced back into the cage by Instructor Wu's pressure. Dean Huangfu suddenly said, "Instructor Wu, recently, the Spirit Beast Park has been full of mistakes. Not to mention the long-term ones. First, the demon beast eggs attacked Yunchujiu, and now, the demon beasts have injured people. Moreover, they knew that there was a beast taming competition today, so why did they leave these 6 fierce hurricane tigers here? As the person in charge of the Spirit Beast Park, it's hard for you to escape the blame. You should go on leave for a few months first. Instructor Qian, your beast taming class teaching task isn't too taxing, so for the time being, you will be the person in charge of the Spirit Beast Park." "Yes. Dean." Instructor Qian did not decline, because when he saw that the Spirit Beast Park was in a mess, his heart ached, and he made up his mind to restore the Spirit Beast Park to its former glory. Instructor Wu's face was pale, and he looked at Deputy Dean Yin obscurely. Deputy Dean Yin coughed and said, "Dean, although Instructor Wu has a responsibility that can't be shirked, isn't this punishment too heavy?" Dean Huangfu looked deeply at Deputy Dean Yin and said, "Deputy Dean Yin, Instructor Wu's spiritual sense has been seriously injured. I'm doing this to let him rest. Do you think it's inappropriate?" When Instructor Wu heard Dean Huangfu's words, his face turned even paler. He knew that Dean Huangfu had already determined that he was the one who controlled the blazing hurricane tigers, but he just did not point it out. Chapter 11:11, Could this girl have any potential? Deputy Dean Yin knew that Dean Huangfu was blackmailing him. If he continued to insist, Dean Huangfu would investigate the matter thoroughly. He gritted his teeth and said, "If that's the case, let's do as Dean says." Seeing that the matter was settled, everyone prepared to disperse. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujiu jumped in front of Instructor Wu and said, "Instructor Wu, this competition was proposed by Wu Heng. According to the agreement, if he loses, he must kneel and admit his mistake and compensate me with 2 million high-grade spirit stones. Now that he has undoubtedly lost, shouldn't you wake him up and fulfill his promise? Otherwise, he will be struck by lightning." Although Instructor Wu wished he could strangle Yun Chujiu to death, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he could only endure it. "Yun Chujiu, you have seen it too. Heng Er is now seriously injured. How can he kneel and admit his mistake? Looking at your words, it's as if I forced him to kneel. In any case, the inner demon oath was made by him himself. I reckon that Tian Dao doesn't care whether he is seriously injured or not. If we don't hurry up, the heavenly lightning will come soon." Yun Chujiu hugged her shoulders and shook her legs, looking very smug. "You." Instructor Wu felt that his severely injured spiritual sense was in even more pain, so he could only wake Wu Heng up and let him fulfill the conditions of the bet. After he listened to Instructor Wu's words, Wu Heng almost fainted again. "Are you my biological uncle? I'm already like this, and you still want me to kneel and admit my mistake to Yun Chujiu? Wu Heng, are you trying to renege on your debt? Hurry up, don't dawdle. I haven't even eaten my breakfast yet, and am in a hurry to have lunch." Yun Chujiu pouted and said. Wu Heng was heavily injured, so how could he kneel? In the end, Instructor Wu and another instructor carried Wu Heng and knelt to Yun Chujiu, saying that he was wrong. Really, you really are a stubborn person. I just said that, and you really knelt. TSK, this injury is already so severe, yet you still kneel to me. If your injury worsens and you die, don't blame me. Wu Heng choked and fainted from anger. Fainted again. Instructor Wu Heng hasn't given me 2 million high-grade spirit stones yet. You as his uncle will pay for the debt instead, you can transfer the spirit stones to me. Instructor Wu had no intention to tangle with Yun Chuzhou now. He angrily transferred 2 million high-grade spirit stones to Yun Chuzhou, and then had someone carry Wu Heng away. Seeing that Instructor Wu's uncle and nephew had left, Yun Chuzhou jumped to Instructor Qian's side. Instructor Qian, congratulations. In the future, I can be at ease and enter the Spirit Beast Park. Otherwise, I'll always be on the edge of my seat. Instructor Qian nodded slightly. You're very talented in beast taming. If you cultivate well in the future, you'll definitely be able to achieve outstanding results. Instructor Qian, you have good taste. I'm not bragging, but I like these demon beasts the most. They all like me too. As long as I wave my hand, they are willing to establish a spiritual connection with me. The corner of Instructor Qian's eyes twitched violently. Can I take back what I said just now? Can such a shameless girl have any future? Yun Chuzhou bragged for a while before she hopped away under the escort of the Huang class and the others. Instructor Qian shook his head. He remembered that Instructor Bai had said that he had used the bewitching beast powder on those demon beasts, so he decided to check their spiritual sense to see if there was any way to salvage the situation. Instructor Qian randomly chose a blazing hurricane tiger to inspect, however, he was surprised to find that the blazing hurricane tiger's spiritual sense was not damaged at all. He then checked on the other demon beasts in disbelief, but there was no damage to any of them at all. What was going on? Chapter 11-12, An unusual atmosphere. Instructor Qian suddenly remembered something that had been overlooked by everyone. Could it be that Instructor Bai's spiritual sense had really been damaged due to qi deviation? Moreover, according to Dean Huangfu, Instructor Wu was the one who had controlled the 6 blazing hurricane tigers. Then, how had his spiritual sense been injured? The spiritual sense of these demon beasts had not been damaged. That could only mean one thing, and that was that Instructor Wu's spiritual sense had been forcefully cut off. Previously, Wu Heng had blurted out that his spiritual sense had been cut off by someone, but later he had denied it. Could it be that the spiritual sense of these 3 people had not behaved erratically but had been cut off by someone? How could that be possible? During the process of controlling them, there were only 2 ways to forcefully cut off the spiritual sense of the person controlling them. One was to establish a spiritual connection with the demon beasts and forcibly erase the spiritual sense imprint of the person controlling them from the spiritual sense of the demon beasts, and the other was to kill the person controlling them. Wu Heng and the other 2 were still alive, so there was only one possibility. However, there was only one person who had the opportunity to establish a spiritual connection with the demon beasts, and that was Yun Chuzhou. Instructor Qian thought about it for a long time, and an answer was on the tip of his tongue. Yun Chuzhou had forcefully erased the imprint that Wu Heng and the other 2 had left in the spiritual senses of the demon beasts. Because the process of controlling the demon beast was forcefully stopped, the spiritual sense of the demon beasts was not damaged. Because Yun Chuzhou had established a spiritual connection with the demon beasts, they did not attack Yun Chuzhou. Instead, they attacked Instructor Bai and Wu Heng. However, how could Yun Chuzhou's spiritual sense be so powerful? Instructor Wu was at the 2nd layer of the spiritual venerable realm. To verify his thoughts, Instructor Qian established a spiritual connection with one of the blazing hurricane tigers and asked, was the spiritual sense mark of the controlling person forcefully erased by Yun Chuzhou? The blazing hurricane tiger was happy that its spiritual imprint was not damaged. It said honestly, yes, it was done by that little girl. She even said that we might have the bloodline of the white tiger. The demon beasts acted based on their instincts. They felt that Instructor Qian had no ill intentions towards them and was eager to show that they might be the descendants of the divine beasts. Therefore, the blazing hurricane tiger told Instructor Qian everything. Instructor Qian's face was stiff after listening to the Hurricane Flaming Tiger's words. He was initially puzzled at how she successfully established spiritual connections with so many demon beasts when her power level was so low. It turned out that it was all a bluff. What a freak. However, how could a little girl at the first level of the spirit sect have such a strong spiritual sense? Instructor Qian shook his head. It was not a bad thing to have a strong spiritual sense. That little girl might be able to master powerful beast taming techniques in the future because she had one more advantage than them, which was that she had a silver tongue. She had fooled more than 10 demon beasts. After the incident, Deputy Dean Yin regarded Yun Chujio even more as a thorn in his side. However, he had not found an opportunity to get his revenge, so he could only temporarily hold back his troops. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. One afternoon, Yun Chujio had just finished class and was about to go to the cafeteria to eat when she found that there was an unusual atmosphere in the Tianyuan Academy. Fuck, there are so many pink-faced and shy people, what was going on? Almost everyone on the road headed towards Tianyuan Square. The female students in particular were all dressed up beautifully. Their faces were flushed with excitement as they jogged forward. Chapter 11:13, the extremely popular black chicken head Yun Chujio called out to an older male student, "Senior, what are you guys up to? Why are you all in such a hurry? Junior Yun, don't you know? His Excellency and young Master Wuji are here. They are currently at the Tianyuan Square, telling us some of their experiences from studying at Tianyuan Academy." Yun Chujio could be considered to be famous now. There was no one in the Tianyuan Academy who did not know her. Yun Chujio was stunned. The pretty boy and the black chicken head were here. Why did they not tell her? Especially the pretty boy. They had just exchanged messages a few days ago. Why did he not mention it? Could it be that it was a last-minute decision? Even if it was a last-minute decision, they could still tell her through the voice transmission talisman. Yun Chujio called Feng Ming and the other two, then rushed to the Tianyuan Plaza. Sure enough, from afar, they saw two figures, one red and one white, standing on the high platform. Both of them were extremely charismatic and peerless in appearance. The female students below screamed one after another. It sounded as if people were slaughtering pigs. Yun Chujio curled her lips. These superficial infatuated people, weren't they just a little better looking? Weren't they just a little better in spiritual power? Didn't they just come from wealthier families? Weren't they just have legendary traits desired by all? Did they have to lose their composure like that? They were so shallow. Yun Chujio grumbled a few times in jealousy. Then, with great difficulty, she squeezed to the front of the crowd. Of course, along the way, she was looked down upon by everyone. Who would want to miss the chance to be closer to His Excellency and young Master Wuji? Shui Wuji spotted Yun Chujio at a glance. Just as he was about to extend his hands to greet her, Di Baiming glared at him. He had no choice but to hide his hands and smile at Yun Chujio. Instantly, dozens of female students in Yun Chujio's direction fainted. The rest of them screamed in excitement. Young Master Wuji smiled at me. Ha ha ha, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to faint. I'll die now for young Master Wuji's smile. I'll die with no regrets. Young Master Wuji, I love you. I want to marry you. Yun Chujio felt goosebumps all over her body. Damn, the power of a brain-dead fan was too much. Fortunately, Wu Ji was still smart enough to not greet her directly. Otherwise, she would have been torn apart by these people. It was not until Dean Huangfu went on stage that the screams quieted down. Dean Huangfu gave a few polite words to welcome His Excellency and young Master Wuji back to their alma mater and let everyone learn from them. Finally, he signaled to Di Baiming and Shui Wuji that they could start imparting their experiences. Di Baiming took a step back slightly and signaled for Shui Wuji to start first. To gain a sense of presence in front of Yun Chujio, Xue Wuji recited the speech he had prepared earlier. His eloquence immediately caused the fangirls below to exclaim in surprise. Yun Chujio was secretly delighted. She did not expect Wu Ji to not be boasting. His popularity in the Tianyuan continent was not inferior to that of the pretty boy. As expected, no matter when or where he would always be popular. After Xue Wuji finished, it was Di Baiming's turn to speak. Compared to Xue Wuji's flowery words, Di Baiming's speech was straight to the point. Even Yun Chujio felt that he had learned a lot. She did not expect that the pretty boy was so capable, no wonder his subordinates were trained so well. Di Baiming's speech did not receive many exclamations. However, in the end, he won even more applause and sincere thanks from the people. Xue Wuji pursed his lips. That idiot. He was just going through the motions, but that facial paralysis guy took it seriously and prepared so much. He had completely forgotten that he had almost driven the people of the Demon Blood sect crazy for this speech. He had revised the speech 70 to 80 times and almost made them vomit blood from the repeated changes. Chapter 11:14, Candidates to accompany them. After the end of Di Baiming's speech, Dean Huangfu announced a shocking piece of news. It's not easy for His Excellency and young Master Wuji to find the time to return to the academy, so they decided to temporarily stay here for 3 days. During this period, the academy will arrange for a few student representatives to accompany the two of them during their visit. When everyone heard Dean Huangfu's words, they instantly exploded. Especially the female students, who felt their little hearts were about to jump out of their chests. What? His Excellency and young Master Wuji were going to stay in the academy for 3 days? Would that not mean that they would be able to see them many times? Would that also not mean that they would have the opportunity to get closer to the two of them? The feeling was especially true for the three beauties. They felt as if they just had a windfall. The Academy's representative would definitely choose them. Forget about young Master Wuji, His Excellency had always been difficult to get close to. It was a great opportunity that they had to seize. The three of them even began to look forward to what kind of clothes they would wear every day, what kind of makeup they would wear, and where they would bring Di Baiming to visit. Silence, I can understand your feelings, but the quota is limited. For the sake of fairness, we can only draw lots to decide which students will accompany us, Dean Huangfu said in a deep voice. Draw lots? Everyone was stunned. They had originally thought that they would choose students with excellent results, but since it was a lucky draw, would that not mean that everyone had a chance? That was great. Dean Huangfu took out a crystal-clear ball and everyone's student numbers began to flash on the screen. Dean Huangfu smiled and said, Your Excellency, young Master Wuji, each of you can choose a student. I will choose the last one. Di Baiming and Xue Wuji nodded slightly at Dean Huangfu. Although the two of them had such highly renowned statuses, they still respected Dean Huangfu very much. Di Baiming placed his hand on the ball and a student ID appeared on the big screen. It was Lin Han from the 4th grade Xian class. A male student shouted excitedly, It's me. It's me. His Excellency chose me. I'm so lucky. Everyone looked at Lin Han with envy. Although the male student would not have any improper thoughts towards His Excellency and young Master Wuji, if he could gain their recognition, it would be of great help to his future and even his family, so it was understood why he was so excited. Many female students wished they could change their name to Lin Han, and their faces were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred towards Lin Han. Lin Han was completely unaware of the scorn and had a silly smile on his face. He did not expect to find himself in the bottom position in the Tianyuan Academy for the past 4 years, then have such good luck suddenly appear. It simply made him so happy that they wanted to go crazy. With Lin Han as a precedent, hope rose in everyone's hearts knowing that just anyone could be selected. They did not know who young Master Wuji and the principal would choose. Xue Wuji gave everyone a devilish smile and immediately caused a group of women to cry out in shock. Then, he placed his hand on the ball and a name appeared on the display screen, 3rd grade Xian class, Nangong Luoyue. Almost at the same time, a female student blissfully fainted. Needless to say, that female student was Nangong Luoyue. The other female students in the square were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. They wished they could replace her, especially the 3 beauties. Her eyes were like knives as she looked at Nangong Luoyue, who had already woken up. Nangong Luoyue was so happy that she did not know what to say. Her looks were average, her family background was average, and her spiritual power was also average. She did not expect to have such a chance to interact with her Prince Charming. It felt like a dream. Everyone could only place their hopes on Dean Huangfu, hoping that good luck would befall them. Chapter 11-15, Who was that shameless person? Dean Huangfu smiled and placed his hand on the ball. A line of words appeared on the screen, 1st grade Huang class, Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou had already expected this, but in order not to arouse the suspicion of others, she pretended to be excited with a silly smile. Since the first 2 people, even though everyone was still filled with envy and jealousy, there was no suspicion of a predetermined result. Yun Chuzhou in her heart felt relieved, the pretty boy and black chicken head also looked exhausted as they put up a show. She knew they wanted to see her badly, but could they not wait for her to enjoy a few days' rest first? Did you have to go to all this trouble? The 3 beauties were so depressed they wanted to hit the wall. They originally thought that it was a great opportunity, but did not think that not even one of them would be selected. However, His Excellency had finally made an appearance. When the time came, they would think of a way to get close to him. Yin Xinlian looked at Yun Chuzhou, who smiled foolishly, and felt that something was amiss. However, after she thought about it, she could not find anything wrong with the situation. Even if His Excellency did treat this Yun Chuzhou differently, young Master Wuji did not know this damned girl, so how could he play any part? Furthermore, there was still Dean Huangfu. She must be overthinking things. Dean Huangfu accompanied Di Baiming and young Master Wuji, bringing along the 3 lucky ones who were chosen to head directly to the guest house of the Tianyuan Academy. Many female students followed behind reluctantly, feeling that it would be good if they could take a few more glances at her. Yin Sulian bit her lips as she stared hatefully at Yun Chuzhou's back. That wretched lass luck was too good to actually be chosen. How good would it be if she was the chosen one instead? Then she would be able to develop a good relationship with young Master Wuji. No, she could not give up the opportunity just like that. Yin Sulian took a few steps forward. With a shy face, she said to Xue Wuji, "Brother Wuji, I have a gift for you. Can we talk in private?" Xue Wuji had thought about how to please Yun Chuzhou. He had originally had a good idea, but he did not expect to be interrupted by Yin Sulian's words which made him forget. He was instantly enraged. "Who are you? Get lost," Xue Wuji said coldly. Fortunately, it was not appropriate for the Tianyuan Academy to publicly beat people up. Otherwise, he would send Yin Sulian flying with a kick. Yin Sulian could not believe her ears. Young Master Wuji was different from His Excellency. Although he was also high and mighty, he would not usually speak ill of a woman. Furthermore, the Yin family was considered to be reputable, she did not expect him to be so shameless. Yin Sulian was stunned for a moment. Then, she covered her face and ran away as she cried. Xue Wuji acted as if nothing had happened. He continued to try to recall the idea he had just now. He could not remember no matter what he did. He secretly grew angry his heart, therefore, he asked Lin Han stood beside him, "What was the name of the shameless person I was talking to just now?" Lin Han's face was full of confusion, but he did not dare not answer. Thus, he said, "That was the second miss of the Yin family, Yin Sulian." The Yin family? No wonder. The elder sister shamelessly clung to Di Biming, and that younger sister shamelessly called him elder brother. The upbringing of the Yin family is an eye-opener. Xue Wuji thought of little Jiu in his heart. His words not only made little sister Jiu hate Di Biming for messing around with other girls, but it also showed that he was completely devoted to her. It was too perfect. Yin Xinlian was not far behind them. When Yin Sulian was reprimanded by Xue Wuji earlier, she felt ashamed. She did not expect Xue Wuji to say something even worse. It was worse than killing her. Chapter 11:16. The deadly Xue Wuji. Yin Xinlian's face immediately turned red. She wanted to defend herself, but no matter how eloquent she was, she did not dare to argue with Xue Wuji, who was famous for his devilish charm. If she provoked him, he would do anything to get back at her. He might even send someone to cause trouble for the Yin family. Deputy Dean Yin could no longer hold back. Yin Xinlian and Yin Sulian were both members of the Yin family. For Xue Wuji to say that the Yin family's upbringing was terrible, he would be affected too if he did not say something. Young Master Wuji, it is human nature for a young man to be in love with a young woman. Xinlian and Sulian, these two girls, have nothing to do with His Excellency and young master. Aren't your words a little too extreme? Xue Wuji glanced at him. Deputy Dean Yin, I remember that the Tianyuan Academy has a rule. Since you are serving in the Tianyuan Academy, you must sever your relationship with the family. Otherwise, you will be fired. Don't tell me you want to leave the Tianyuan Academy to revitalize the Yin family. Deputy Dean Yin's old face alternated between green and red. He was so angry that he almost fainted. Xue Wuji's words were too sarcastic. What did he mean by reviving the Yin family? He said it as if the Yin family had already fallen. Moreover, when he said that, it made everyone look at him as if he had been using his power for personal gain. However, Dean Huangfu felt that Xue Wuji was amazing. He was indeed worthy of being an outstanding student who had graduated from their Tianyuan Academy. His words were too powerful. Yun Chujiu, who stood at the side, also felt that that black chicken head had performed well today. His lethality was shocking. He had defeated the 3 members of the Yin family so nonchalantly. Although Deputy Dean Yin wished that he could strangle Xue Wuji to death, he had the strength of the demon blood sect behind him. He did not dare to go against them, so he could only cover his chest and say, Your Excellency, young Master Wuji, my chest feels a little stuffy. I will take my leave first. After saying that, as Deputy Dean Yin was about to leave, Xue Wuji curled his lips and said, Deputy Dean Yin, you're the Deputy Dean. Shouldn't you inform Dean Huangfu before you take your leave? Are you looking down on Dean Huangfu too much? Or do you intend to replace him? Deputy Dean Yin's old face flushed red as he said, This is indeed my negligence. Dean, I'll take my leave first. Dean Huangfu nodded. Since Deputy Dean Yin is not feeling well, then you should rest for the next few days. Deputy Dean Yin forced himself to turn around and leave. The veins on his hands were clearly exposed under his sleeves. He was extremely angry. Could it be that the Yin family had offended Xue Wuji in some way recently? Otherwise, why would he target the Yin family so viciously today? It was truly outrageous. How would he know that all of this was just because Yin Sulian interrupted Xue Wuji's train of thought? He was just so willful. Di Biming and his group continued to walk towards the guest house. Yun Chujiu originally thought that after Xue Wuji's mischief, the female students behind them would scatter like birds and beasts. However, what she never expected was that, when the female students saw Xue Wuji's venomous tongue, they became even more infatuated. Young Master Wuji is too handsome. I like his devilish temperament. Yeah, young Master Wuji is so charming no matter what he does. He's handsome beyond the new horizon. Young Master Wuji's appearance just now almost made me faint. The corner of Yun Chuji's eyes twitched violently. It seemed that each cabbage and radish had their own preferences. There were actually so many people who liked such that crazy black chicken head. Yun Chujio glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. Io, that Yin Xinlian's constitution was really off the charts. Even though the girl and fourth grandfather had been angered away, she still shamelessly followed them. Could it be that she still wanted to have a few words with her pretty boy? Chapter 11:17, Debeiming, whose battle prowess was even more astonishing. Just as Yun Chujio thought of that, the three beauties began to make their move. Qin Mingzhu took a few steps towards Debeiming and said, "Your Holiness, I heard that when you were studying at the Tianyuan Academy, you liked to read books in the library by yourself. Why don't I accompany you to the library when you have time?" Debeiming did not even look at her and said coldly, "Since you know that I like someone, why are you still following me?" Qin Mingzhu did not say another word. Her face flushed red and she retreated. Yin Xinlian gritted her teeth and took a few steps forward. Before she could say anything, Debeiming said, "I have said that the smell on your body is really bad. Don't come close to me." Yin Xinlian almost cried. Debeiming had said that the fragrance on her body was choking, so this time, she did not use any fragrance at all. She did not expect to be so despised by Debeiming. She was even more embarrassed than Qin Mingzhu. When Qin Mingzhu saw that Yin Xinlian was so embarrassed, she felt much better. It seemed that His Excellency still showed mercy to her. It was obvious that he was even more disgusted with Yin Xinlian. No matter how deep Yin Xinlian's thoughts were, she could not bear being so embarrassed in front of so many people. She covered her face and ran away as she cried. The three members of the Yin family were all so angry that they left dejectedly. Bailey Yen saw that Qin Mingzhu and Yin Xinlian had returned in defeat. She thought about it and did not go forward. Apparently, His Excellency did not seem to be in a good mood today, so she should not tempt his wrath. Although Debeiming and Xue Wuji's skills at rejection were unparalleled, many still students followed them. They felt that even though they could not speak to the exalted young Master Wuji, it was still good for them to be able to take a few glances from afar. After being escorted all the way, they finally arrived at the guest house. By then only Dean Huangfu and the three student representatives accompanied Xue Wuji and Debeiming inside. Once the isolation array was activated, the fangirls could only sigh in admiration. Their hearts were filled with envy and jealousy towards the three student representatives. However, they still chose to stay for a while before leaving in embarrassment. The guest house was decorated very elegantly. It had a two-hall courtyard, a study room, 2 bedrooms, and a living room. The few of them came to the living room and sat down. Nangong Luoyue and Lin Han were so nervous that they did not know where to put their hands and feet. Xue Wuji smiled and said, "Junior Lin, Junior Nangong, Junior Yun, there's no need to be so formal." Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue were overwhelmed by his casual attitude. They could still clearly picture Xue Wuji's fierce look when he attacked Dean Sulian and Deputy Dean Yin. They did not expect him to be so amiable now. It was too surprising. The two of them stole a glance at Debeiming. Although he did not speak, his expression did not look as cold as before. Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue felt that their luck was simply out of this world. They actually received such preferential treatment. They sat there excitedly. Yun Chujio found it funny in her heart. She did not know if these two unlucky fellows were really randomly chosen, but they seemed to be quite earnest in their enthusiasm. The few of them casually chatted for a while. They mostly answered questions from Xue Wuji. Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue were flattered while Yun Chujio, on the other hand, munched on the pastries that had already been placed on the table. When Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue saw Yun Chujio's behavior, they thought to themselves that Yun Chujio was just as the rumors said. She was greedy, but she did not have any shrewdness in her. If an ordinary female student was chosen, then wouldn't she try her best to curry favor with His Excellency and young Master Wuji? If Yun Chuzhou knew what the two of them thought of, she would probably burst into laughter. Although the pretty boy and the black chicken had good looks, after seeing them so many times, they would not be as attractive as the pastries on the table. Chapter 11:18 The reason for all the trouble. When Di Biming heard Xue Wuji's duck-like laughter, he frowned slightly. With a wave of his hand, Nangong Luoyue and Lin Han immediately fainted on the chair. Di Biming, can't you be more civilized? Why did you make them faint just like that? Xue Wuji said with a look of disdain. Noisy. Di Biming spat out two words coldly. Xue Wuji finally found a chance to have a good chat with Yun Chuzhou. He walked up to her and said, "Do you think I'm willing to babble non-stop? No matter what, you have to act like it. You're well-developed and simple-minded. Little sister Jiu, don't you think I'm right? If your brother kept talking to you the moment you stepped in, how will you survive in the Tianyuan Academy if this gets out?" Dean Huangfu was so shocked when he saw Xue Wuji suddenly become so obsequious. His heart almost stopped beating. Oh God, could it be that there was something wrong with his eyes? Was this obsequious thing really young Master Wuji? And who the hell was little sister Jiu? Could it be that Yun Chujia's parents were old friends with Xue Mo and his wife? Brother Wuji is very thoughtful. I just don't know why you and the Prince Charming went through so much trouble to drag the dean into this. What exactly do you want to do? If you want to see me, can't you just wait until Xuanxiu? Yun Chuzhou asked in confusion. Dean Huangfu felt that his brain no longer functioned. Wuji. This little girl dared to call Xue Wuji black chicken head. And who the hell was Prince Charming? Could it be that he was called His Excellency? Today, the two great gods suddenly approached him and made him put on such a show. The Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue that he chose were people with no background and honest personalities. Firstly, it was not good for him to reject the two great gods. Secondly, he was also curious about what they were going to do and what kind of relationship Yun Chuzhou had with them. Xue Wuji said fawningly, "Little sister Jiu, have you forgotten? Tomorrow is your 18th birthday. You can't leave the Tianyuan Academy, so we took the trouble to come in to look for you. If we came to visit you directly, I'm afraid we would bring you trouble. This way, it won't be so conspicuous, and we can celebrate your birthday with you tomorrow." He would never admit it, but he just wanted to enter the Tianyuan Academy and show off, so that Yun Chuzhou could see his explosive popularity. Moreover, it would be open and aboveboard. Much better than sneaking around. Yun Chuzhou was stunned. She had already forgotten about her birthday. Time passed so quickly to her that in the blink of an eye, it was already going to be her 18th birthday. Di Biming glared at Xue Wuji. Originally, he was prepared to think of a way to sneak into the Tianyuan Academy. He did not expect Xue Wuji to come in and stir things up. In the end, it turned out to be such a large-scale event. Then thank you, Prince Charming and Brother Wuji. Hehe, have you prepared your birthday gifts? Yun Chuzhou was very touched. She did not expect the two of them to go through so much trouble just to celebrate her birthday. Little sister Jiu, don't worry. I've prepared something good for you. Xue Wuji said with a fawning expression. Di Biming did not say anything and only nodded slightly. Dean Huangfu sat on the chair with a stiff expression. He felt that this was the first time in his life that he had something affect him so badly. Damn, it turned out that these two great gods had spent so much effort just to spend a birthday with this little girl. How capricious. Not only was this little girl not overwhelmed by the favor, she even brazenly asked for a gift. There was probably no other person besides her who dared to be so arrogant as to ask for a gift from His Excellency and young Master Wuji. Chapter 11:19, Are You a Man? What surprised Dean Huangfu even more was that His Excellency and young Master Wuji looked as if they were used to it. How? How was this possible? The most unbelievable thing was that both His Excellency and young Master Wuji's eyes were filled with pure adoration. Could it be that both of them liked this little girl? How could this be possible? Although the little girl was good-looking, she was only on par with the 3 pearls, yet the esteemed lord and young master would not be mesmerized by those 3. Furthermore, this little girl was only at the first level of the spirit sect, and she had ascended from the azure mystic continent. How could such an outstanding duo like her? Well, the little girl was actually quite a freak. She had not even been hurt once despite being struck by heavenly lightning for 10 hours, and she was surprisingly bold. Perhaps the esteemed lord and young master Wuji liked her brazen personality. Dean Huangfu looked at the interaction of the 3 with a dumbfounded expression. The 2 people who were usually arrogant had a completely different look. The demonic charm had turned into flattery, and the aloof personality had turned into a warm man. That little girl was too strange. Lord Dean, thank you for making things easy for the Prince Charming and Brother Wuji. You should come to my birthday party tomorrow night. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Dean Huangfu was stunned. He did not expect Yun Chujio to invite him like this. He saw that Yun Chujio's expression was very sincere, and he was curious about the relationship between this little girl and the 2 great gods. After he thought for a while, he agreed. Di Baiming and Xue Wuji felt that it was not bad to let Dean Huangfu participate. That way, it would be easier to silence others. Moreover, Yun Chujio's future life in the academy would be bright if she built a good relationship with Dean Huangfu. As for Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue, these 2 background characters naturally had to be brought along. When the time came, they could just say a few words and knock her out. Dean Huangfu was very tactful. You guys catch up, I'll go rest in the study room for a while. After Di Baiming and the other 2 stood up to send him off, they returned to the living room. Xue Wuji had a stomach full of words that he wanted to say to Yun Chujio. Instantly, he kept on babbling non-stop. Yun Chujio had not seen Xue Wuji for a long time. She bragged about what had happened after she arrived in the Tianyuan continent, especially how she had ordered the Huang class students to beat up Ma Sheng and the others, how she had pulled out the tail feathers of the vermilion-beaked long feather cranes, and how he had tricked more than 10 demon beasts into being controlled by her. Ha ha ha, from then on, those naked cranes were like little chicks in front of me. They were extremely obedient. Yun Chujio said while dancing with joy. Little sister Jiu, you are really amazing. I knew that you would end up the most dazzling existence no matter where you are. Aya, it's just a so-so. I don't know which blind person assigned me to the Huang class. So what if it's the Huang class? I will still be able to do well. Humph. Yun Chujio said smugly. That's right. Gold will shine sooner or later. Little sister Jiu might surpass Di Baiming's expressionless face and become number 1 on the roll of prodigies in the future. Just as Yun Chujio was about to say a few more words smugly, Di Baiming said coldly, Little Jiu, you're practically the weakest one now. Don't feel smug just because you've gained the upper hand with a little bit of cleverness. If your strength doesn't go up, you'll suffer a big loss sooner or later. It's better to cultivate properly. Without waiting for Yun Chujio to speak, Xue Wuji was displeased. Di Baiming, are you still a man when you say that? You keep saying that you like little sister Jiu. Isn't it natural for a man to protect a woman? So what if little sister Jiu is weak? Isn't that what you and the Hall of Longevity are for? Won't you always protect little sister Jiu? Chapter 11:20, The Ghostly 1D Baiming frowned. Xue Wuji, little Jiu is my woman. I will do my best to protect her, but the safest way is for her to increase her spiritual power. That way, even if I am careless, she will be able to protect herself. To stay together for a long time, she has to increase her spiritual power. Humph. It's just an excuse. Little sister Jiu, you can be as happy as you like. You don't have to care about this facial paralysis. If he doesn't protect you, I will. Yun Chujiu giggled. Brother Wuji, what Prince Charming said makes sense. I'd better improve my spiritual power as soon as possible. I'll work hard to cultivate and try to catch up with you guys as soon as possible. Shui Wuji sighed, little sister Jiu, you're always so strong that it makes your brother's heart ache. Don't worry, no matter what happens, brother will help you. Di Biming felt that his teeth were getting a little sore from all the gritting. After not seeing Shui Wuji for a few months, this Shui Wuji was becoming more and more shameless. Although Yun Chujiu also felt that these words had the flavor of an idle drama, she was very touched in her heart. She knew that Shui Wuji spoke the truth, but unfortunately, she only treated him as a brother. In the future, if there was a chance, she would help him find a good sister-in-law candidate. The three of them chatted for a while more. Yun Chujiu felt that it was a little too much to leave Din Huangfu hanging for such a long time, thus, she said, Prince Charming, Brother Wuji, let's have a good chat when I'm resting. It's better to invite Din Huangfu back. It's already been almost 2 hours. Leaving the old man hanging in the study room is a little unreasonable. After Din Huangfu was invited back, Di Biming also woke up Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue who had fainted. The two of them were slightly stunned. Yun Chujiu giggled, Senior Lin, Senior Nangong, the two of you were probably too excited just now and fainted. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this. Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue blushed, thank you, Junior Yun. Din Huangfu secretly cursed in his heart. This little girl was full of shrewd ideas. Not only did she shut their mouths, but she also made it look like she did them a favor. This little girl was cunning. Everyone chatted for a while more. Shui Wuji rolled his eyes and said, Junior brothers and sisters, why don't you accompany us for a stroll around the academy? We haven't been back for so many years. I really miss this place. Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue were naturally overwhelmed by the favor and quickly agreed. This old man still has some matters to attend to, so I won't be able to accompany the two of you. Din Huangfu reminded Lin Han and the other two to properly entertain Di Biming and Shui Wuji before leaving the guest house. After a while, Di Biming and the other three also left the guest house. Very quickly, a group of fangirls gathered behind them once again. Di Biming had the appearance of one not bothered with strangers, while Shui Wuji smiled like a spring breeze. He chatted and laughed with Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue beside him, but he was completely indifferent towards Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu did not feel awkward at all. She lazily followed behind the four of them with a spirit fruit in her hand as if she had nothing to do with it. The fangirls were disappointed. Did that Yun Chujiu have any ambition at all? Why don't you just charge forward? Are you going to waste such a great opportunity? Have you never eaten a spirit fruit in your life? The fangirls wished they could drag Yun Chujiu over and beat her up. You're wasting such a great opportunity. You don't even know how to seize such a great opportunity. You're really stupid. Chapter 11:21, Shui Wuji's idiocy. Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yan were very satisfied. It seemed that Yun Chujiu was really not enlightened. She did not even grasp such a good opportunity. That meant that she did not have any ill intentions toward His Excellency. That bitch Yin Xinlian was indeed only trying to sow discord. Yun Chujiu glanced at the two people who came from the opposite side and cursed in her heart. The Yin sisters' constitutions were really strong. In just a short while, they had become lively again. The two people who came were Yin Xinlian and Yin Sulian. It was obvious that the two of them had freshened up. Although their eyes were still slightly red and swollen, it did not affect their beauty. Instead, it made them look more pitiful. The two of them reversed their previous initiative. This time, they only bowed slightly and then followed the five of them silently. Yun Chujio thought to herself, have they changed their strategy? Are they preparing to play the innocent White Lotus card? Junior Lin, let's go to the library and take a look. Back then, this young master was a model of diligent study and spent most of his time in the library. The tutor guarding the library was full of praise for this young master. Xue Wuji said as he stroked the hair in front of his forehead. This action immediately caused waves of exclamations from the fangirls. They felt that young Master Wuji was too charming. When everyone reached the front of the library, the instructors of the library had already waited outside the library. When one of the older instructors saw Xue Wuji, he subconsciously frowned. Instructor Yen, aren't you very happy to see this young master? Back then, my relationship with Instructor Yen was the best. Xue Wuji smiled wickedly at the older instructor. Instructor Yen subconsciously took a step back. A good relationship? What a joke. Back then, this Xue Wuji had caused me a lot of trouble. He had smeared countless books in the library and even glorified it as helping the academy beautify the books. The real reason was that he felt that the covers of those books weren't good looking. There was also a ban on eating in the library. Not only was this fellow brazenly eating in there, he even forced others to eat. This was because if the law didn't punish everyone, he would be able to escape punishment. Instructor Yen, this young master has not returned for many years. I really miss those books that were beautified by this young master back then. I wonder if you can make them out so that all the junior brothers and sisters can appreciate my painting skills. Xue Wuji had the intention to show off in front of Yun Chujio. Naturally, Instructor Yen could not refuse Xue Wuji. He asked his subordinates to take out the few books that Xue Wuji had beautified back then. When Instructor Yen saw the thick stacks of books in the hands of his instructors, he wanted to slap Xue Wuji, who gloated nearby. He had ruined the ancient books in sheepskin scrolls, so there was no way to repair them. Yun Chujio saw the messy cover and the corner of her eyes twitched. It turned out that Wu Ji's brain had always been stupid. It was worse than it was now. If Xue Wuji knew what Yun Chujio was thinking, he would definitely regret it. Di Baiming saw that Yun Chujio was reading seriously and felt a little sour in his heart. He nodded slightly at Instructor Yen, then, he said, Instructor Yen, can we go in and take a look? Don't worry, I will keep an eye on Xue Wuji. I won't let him do anything excessive. Xue Wuji was about to retort, but he thought about it and decided to endure it. If he quarreled with Di Baiming in public, little sister Jiu would definitely be unhappy. He had better not lower himself to the level of that facial paralysis. Chapter 11:22, that foodie stayed behind. Of course, Instructor Yen would not refuse. He nodded and led the way. Everyone followed him into the library. However, because there were too many fangirls following them, only a small portion of them were allowed to pass. The rest had to wait outside. After Di Baiming and the others entered, Di Baiming chose the 8th floor of the library without a second thought. The rest followed him to the 8th floor. A rare smile appeared on Instructor Yan's solemn face. He pointed to a spot near the window and said, back then, His Excellency liked reading there the most. Other than the 5 arts of cultivators, His Excellency has read almost all the books in this building. You really do love books very much. Xue Wuji was immediately upset. Instructor Yen, why then do I hear you say that I don't love books? Instructor Yen coughed dryly. Young Master Wuji naturally cares about books as well. After all, he helped many books perfect their covers. Xue Wuji did not say anything else. He pointed at the books on the bookshelf and babbled non-stop. It showed that he had read the books on the bookshelf as well. That attracted exclamations of joy from his fans. Yun Chuzhou felt that he was too good at showing off. He was even cockier than she was. Yun Chuzhou chewed on the spirit fruit while she looked at the seat by the window. An idea popped up in her mind. If she were to send the Huang class students to occupy the seat that Di Baiming sat at every day, then those rich students would want to sit there too. Could it be a way to make money? While everyone chatted and laughed, an old man appeared out of nowhere. He had dry hair and had a braid on the back of his head. He berated unhappily, "Since when did the library become a tea house? If you want to talk about books, get out and talk." Yun Chuzhou thought that Shui Wuji would fly into a rage. She did not expect Shui Wuji to rub his nose and not say anything. He walked towards the teleportation array dejectedly. Instructor Yen and Di Baiming bowed slightly to the old man and followed him towards the teleportation array. The old man suddenly said, "You foodie. Stay behind." Everyone looked at each other. They did not know who the old man was talking about. Then, their eyes were fixed on Yun Chuzhou, who had chewed on the spirit fruit in her hand. There was no doubt that the old man talked about Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou pointed at herself. "Senior, are you talking about me?" The old man snorted. "Who else is there besides you? How dare you eat in the library? You are just as ridiculous as that Shui Wuji. You stay behind and help me do some work." Shui Wuji did not get angry when he heard the old man's words, but he was secretly happy. That old man was indeed a sensible man. He and little sister Jiu had the same temperament, so they were naturally the same kind of people. He deliberately ignored the words "ridiculous" at the end. Di Baiming gave Yun Chuzhou a subtle look, indicating that she should not mess around. Yun Chuzhou was shocked. It seemed that this old man was someone he respected. Not only did Shui Wuji not dare to argue, but even the pretty boy was also afraid of him. Who was the old man? After everyone left, Yun Chuzhou finished the remaining spiritual fruits in 2 or 3 bites. Then, she jumped in front of the old man and asked, "Senior, what do you need me to do for you?" "Copy the books word for word." The old man threw words coldly. Then, he threw a few goatskin scrolls, a pile of blank goatskin scrolls, a pen, and ink to Yun Chuzhou. Although Yun Chuzhou's heart thundered, she remembered Di Baiming's warning gaze, so she could only put the goatskin scrolls on the desk and sadly began to copy the books. Chapter 11:23, Copying Books. Yun Chuzhou looked at her dog-like handwriting. She regretted she had not listened to Di Baiming and practiced her handwriting. Wasn't this too embarrassing? Ahem. Senior, my dog-like handwriting is unsightly. Why don't you find someone else to copy the books? Yun Chuzhou copied half a page, blinked her eyes, and handed the copied book to the old man. The old man looked at the half-page book that Yun Chuzhou copied and his eyes twitched. Continue copying. When you finish copying, your handwriting will naturally improve. You are not allowed to eat or sleep until you finish. Yun Chuzhou had no choice but to return to the desk and continue copying the book miserably. The regret in her heart was like a torrential river. She told you to be greedy, and she told you to be greedy. Why did you have to eat spiritual fruits when you had nothing to do? Yun Chuzhou blamed Di Baiming again. It was all the pretty boy's fault. Why did he have to come here for no reason? There was also the black chicken's head. If he had not insisted on coming to the library, the pretty boy would not have said that he wanted to come in. It was all because of these 2 idiots. She was in real trouble now. She did not know what identity this old man had and what he wanted to do. Could it be that he wanted to torture her? How could she have the time to cultivate when she was copying books every day? Not to mention eating, drinking, and having fun. Yun Chuzhou copied the books until the sun set. The old man said, "All right, let's call it a day. Come back tomorrow after class to continue copying. If you don't show up, Humph. Yun Chuzhou wanted to flatter him but found that the old man had disappeared. The old man curled his lips and had no choice but to leave the library through the teleportation formation. Yun Chuzhou left the library and saw the sunset. She finally felt better after the whole afternoon of toil. Then she remembered that Di Baiming and Xue Wuji were the ones who put her in that situation. She could not be bothered to visit them, so she went back to her dormitory. She opened the isolation array and let Little Black Bird and the others out. After dinner, they sat on the recliner and pondered. The books that the old man asked her to copy were all written in ancient characters. She did not know any of them. What exactly were they about? It would be great if she could read ancient characters. Unfortunately, there were too few people who still could. In addition, the pretty boy was right. She had to focus on her cultivation. With her current spiritual power level, she might be eliminated in the mid-year competition 3 months later, not to mention being part of the roll of prodigies. Just as Yun Chuzhou let her thoughts run wild, she heard a flurry of footsteps coming from outside the courtyard. It was obvious that many people were walking towards her. Yun Chuzhou frowned. Could it be Black Chicken Head and the others? Junior Yun. Junior Yun. Young Master Wuji and His Excellency want to visit your courtyard. Why aren't you coming out to welcome them? Everyone shouted outside the courtyard. Yun Chuzhou really wanted to say, scram. She was in a bad mood, but now was not the time to be stubborn. She could only disable the isolation array and look at the people outside the courtyard with a smile. The two people who stood at the front were naturally Di Baiming and Xue Wuji. Behind the two of them were Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue. Behind them were the three beauties, and behind them were the fangirls. Xue Wuji pursed his lips. Junior Yun, I've never been to the Huang class dormitory before. I wonder if it's convenient for me to take a look around. Although Yun Chuzhou wanted to kill Xue Wuji with a slap, she smiled and said, welcome. Everyone, please come in. Xue Wuji swaggered into the courtyard, but Di Baiming frowned. Other than Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue, the rest you don't have to come in. Shut up and stay there. Chapter 1124, Smooth Hair. The three beauties and the others could only watch as Yun Chuzhou's courtyard once again activated the isolation array. They could no longer see or hear anything. Xue Wuji entered the courtyard and looked around. His gaze was immediately attracted by the three-beaded tree and the swing. He sat on the swing and swayed back and forth. Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue were very surprised. They originally thought that the Huang class dormitory would be very shabby. They did not expect that even though the courtyard was a little small, the houses still looked quite new. Moreover, the courtyard was full of flowers and plants, and there were even 3 fruit trees that had already borne fruit. That swing was especially attractive to Nangong Luoyue, and she also wanted to sit on it to play on it for a while. Yun Chuzhou let the 4 of them sit on the stone chairs, and then took out a pot of tea, cakes, and spirit fruits to serve the 4 of them. Xue Wuji pretended to say a few words, and then impatiently knocked out Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue, the 2 unlucky fellows, again. The corner of Yun Chuzhou's eyes twitched. It seemed that she had to compensate Senior Lin and Senior Nangong in the future. Otherwise, she would be letting the 2 of them down. Brother Wuji, it's okay for them to faint once, but you knocked them out again. How are you going to explain it to them later? Xue Wuji stroked the hair on his forehead. Little sister Jiu, don't worry. I used the charm this time. Their minds will come up with the scenario themselves. Let's continue chatting later. Yun Chuzhou nodded. That was not bad. She did not expect Wuji to be so smart. Little sister Jiu, what did that old man ask you to help him with? When Yun Chuzhou heard Xue Wuji mention that, she grew furious. That damn old man asked me to copy books. He made me copy all the ancient characters. I don't know any of them. Prince Charming, Brother Wuji, do you know how to read ancient characters? Di Biming and Xue Wuji both shook their heads. Not everyone could recognize or read the ancient characters. What exactly is that damned old man's identity? Why do I feel that both of you are afraid of him? Aren't the two of you big shots here? Yun Chujio asked in puzzlement. Cough, cough. Normally speaking, I'm naturally not afraid of anything. It's just that that old man is very strange. He comes and goes like a ghost. I think back then, I also resisted. Then, cough, cough, Xue Wuji rubbed his nose, he did not continue. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. Prince Charming, did Brother Wuji get beaten up by that old man? Di Biming curled his lips. That time, Xue Wuji ate in the library and threatened others to eat with him. Then, he was thrown out of the library by that senior. Furthermore, he was beaten until his face was swollen and he was thrown out. Naturally, he was unwilling to let it go. It was a pity that from that time on if he messed around, he would be beaten up and thrown out of the library. Xue Wuji shouted awkwardly, enough. Why are you talking about such trivial matters? Little sister Jiu, how many books did that old man ask you to copy? A pile of them. Damn it, he wants me to copy books for him every day from now on. I'm going crazy. Yun Chujio said angrily. Little Jiu, Senior has his reasons for doing this. Just copy the books obediently, Di Biming said while stroking Yun Chujia's small head. Xue Wuji's hands were itchy when he saw Di Biming stroking Yun Chujia's hair. However, he could only watch and could not touch it. All right. I'll take it as practicing calligraphy. It's just that I don't know how to read those ancient characters. Otherwise, it would be interesting. Yun Chujio felt that her hair was smooth after being touched by Di Biming a few times. Chapter 1125, The Charm of the Black Chicken Head. Little sister Jiu, since you still have to copy books tomorrow, I can only celebrate your birthday at night. That damn old man, it's fine if he tortured me back then, but now he's torturing you as well. I just can't beat him, or else I'll definitely show him. Let's spend the night together then. Where are we going to spend the night? At my place or the guest house? Yun Chujio had already accepted the fact that she had to copy the book every day. Of course, it's at your place, little sister Jiu. I'll think of a reason tomorrow. Little sister Jiu, don't worry. It's about time. We should leave too. Otherwise, those idiots might stir up some trouble again. Not that I mind. The main reason is that I'm afraid of implicating you, little sister Jiu. Yun Chujio nodded. Xue Wuji woke up Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue. The two of them did not seem to have fainted at all. They chatted with the crowd as if nothing happened. Yun Chujio clicked her tongue in wonder. Wu Ji's charm technique was indeed magical. She reckoned that when they were in the Azure Mystic Continent, his spiritual power was limited, so he could not use it. The five of them chatted for a while longer before Xue Wuji and the other three left the courtyard. Even though it was already late, there were still many fangirls waiting outside. They escorted Di Biming and Xue Wuji all the way back to the guest house. Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue were immediately surrounded by everyone. What did young Master Wuji and His Excellency say to you? What did you guys do inside? Who has a better impression of the three of you, young Master Wuji or His Excellency? Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue vividly recounted what had happened. They just drank tea and chatted away. They also talked about some matters of the Tianyuan Academy. Everyone was very disappointed and thought that there would be some explosive news. A thought flashed through Yin Xinlian's mind, and she asked, I wonder how young Master Wuji and His Excellency treat Yun Chujio. And how did she behave? His Excellency is very cold to the three of us. Young Master Wuji is a little better, but young Master Wuji doesn't seem to like Junior Yun and treats her very coldly. Junior Yun only eats and eats. She rarely talks to them, Nangong Luoyue said with a slightly red face. This was the first time she had received so much attention from so many people. She was really not used to it. Bailey Yen pursed her lips. Yin Xinlian, are you relieved now? You're always on guard against that little girl, Yun Chujio. You're paranoid. However, I don't think there's any hope for you sisters, so stop daydreaming. Yin Sulian stomped her feet angrily. Bailey Yen, you're the one daydreaming. What's a person with a neck disease showing off for? Bailey Yen was so angry that she raised her hand and was about to slap Yin Sulian. Yin Xinlian raised her hand and blocked Bailey Yen. Bailey Yen, are you going to violate the rules of the academy? Bailey Yen retracted her hand angrily and then mocked, Yin Xinlian, I'm really sad for you. You're also a smart person. It's a pity that you have a stupid sister. Sooner or later, you'll be implicated by her. Yin Sulian wanted to say more, but Yin Xinlian glared at her. Let's go. At noon the next day, Yun Chujio reluctantly hopped into the library after class. After she went up to the 8th floor, the old man appeared in front of Yun Chujio. The old man put a stack of books on the desk. Just as the old man was about to leave, Yun Chujio said with a smile, Senior, please wait. The old man looked at her. Little foodie, what's the matter? The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. Little foodie. Alright, although it was a not nice thing to say, she was indeed a foodie, so he could just call her that. Chapter 1126, turned out to be an old foodie, Senior, I don't know any of these ancient characters. Please teach me. If I'm going to be able to copy more effectively, I want to be able to understand what I'm writing. I can learn something new along the way too. The old man curled his lips. I've never heard that the act of copying books having anything to do with being able to read them. Just copy the books. Hurry up and get started. If you can't finish copying these books by this afternoon, don't even think about going back to sleep. After the old man finished, he disappeared without a trace again. Yun Chujio pursed her lips, but her heart was filled with joy. This old man only said that he would not teach her. That meant that he knew how to read those ancient characters. Humph, as long as you know how to read them, they'll be able to get you to teach me sooner or later. Yun Chujio picked up the brush and started to copy the books with a defeated expression. As she copied, she started to play dirty tricks. She took out a charcoal pen and a drawing board from her storage ring. Not long after, she drew a portrait of the old man. She blew her beard and glared at him. Yun Chujio folded the drawing paper and stuffed it into the middle of a few goatskin books. Finally, when the sun had just set, Yun Chujio finished copying the goatskin book that the dry old man had given her. She stretched and shouted, Senior, I'm done. Can I leave now? The old man appeared out of nowhere. He picked up the book that Yun Chujio had copied and flipped through it. As he read, he ridiculed, TSK, to be able to write such ugly words, you must be really something special. It's already flattering to say that it's a dog's handwriting. I feel that even if you get a dog to do it, it would have better handwriting. Do you have hands or claws? You wouldn't be able to write so badly just by copying the painting. Other than eating, I think you aren't able to do anything else. Yun Chujio silently muttered in her heart, endure, I'll endure. Even Black Chicken Head can't beat this damn old man. If I were to turn hostile, it would just be looking for a beating. I'll just treat it as him scolding himself. This damned old man's handwriting was probably very ugly too. Otherwise, why wouldn't he copy the book himself? Yes, that must be the case. Yun Chuzhou used the mental victory method to successfully prevent herself from going crazy. Finally, the dry old man had complained enough. Only then did she wave her hand. Scram. Come on time tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, humph. Yun Chuzhou smiled like a flower and said, Senior, don't worry. I'll definitely come on time tomorrow afternoon. Although I have only copied books for 2 days, I am already addicted to it. If I don't copy books for a day, I feel like I am lacking something. I can make it through a day without eating or sleeping, but I can't without copying books. If I don't copy books for a day, I feel like my life is not perfect. The corner of the dry old man's eyes twitched. This little girl was too good at lying. Senior, to thank you for your help, what do you need? I'll bring it to you tomorrow. Old Ding's roast chicken tastes good. Do you want to try it? The skin of the roast chicken is golden. Crispy on the outside, and tender on the inside, too. Huh? What? Yun Chuzhou was rambling on about the roast chicken when she heard the old man say, too. She was stunned for a moment before she understood what the old man meant. Fuck, and he dares calls me a foodie. After all this time, this guy is also an old foodie. Humph. As long as there's a weakness, it's easy to deal with. I'll let you teach me the ancient characters. No problem. Senior, I have them in my storage ring. You can have them. Yun Chuzhou handed the 2 roasted chickens wrapped in oil paper to the old man. The old man almost snatched them greedily. Then, he felt that it was a little demeaning. He glared at Yun Chuzhou. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and get lost. Come back on time tomorrow. Senior, then I'll scram. See you tomorrow. Yun Chuzhou pursed her lips in her heart. You're just an old foodie, why are you still taking advantage of me? Just you wait, sooner or later, I'll make you reveal your true nature. The corner of the dried-up old man's eyes twitched violently. Only this little foodie could say the word scram so naturally. Chapter 1127, Birthday Present. The old man almost drooled when he smelled the roasted chicken. He waved his hand at Yun Chuzhou. When he saw that Yun Chuzhou had left, he hurriedly broke off a drumstick and ate it. Yes. That's the smell. Damn old Ding. If I hadn't lost a bet with him, I would have forced him to make me a few hundred of them. Forget it, I'll save this one for later. The old man finished one roasted chicken and kept the other one into his storage ring. After the old man used a cleaning spell to clean his hands, then started to tidy up the sheepskin scroll on the desk. Suddenly, he found the drawing paper that Yun Chuzhou had folded. The dry old man curiously opened the drawing paper and saw the drawing was of himself. He blew at his beard and glared at it. Below it was a line of dog-like words. This drawing is for my most respected senior, he guided me towards the light. He is the sun in my heart. The dried-up old man's beard curled up as he laughed and scolded, this little girl is really a weirdo. The dried-up old man put away the drawing. After some thought, he took out a few pieces of paper from his storage ring and stuffed them into a sheepskin scroll. Then, he muttered to himself, how much you can comprehend will depend on your luck. After Yun Chuzhou left the library, she could not wait to return to the dormitory. She had thought about Shui Wuji and Di Baiming's birthday gifts along the way back. Not long after Yun Chuzhou returned to the dormitory, the sound of chaotic footsteps could be heard from outside again. Yun Chuzhou walked out of the courtyard happily. As expected, it was Di Baiming and the others. Shui Wuji looked at Yun Chuzhou with disdain. Although your courtyard is small and dilapidated, those 3 trees are not bad. Also, the young master likes that swing very much. I will reluctantly stay with you for a while. Yun Chuzhou smiled and said, His Excellency, young Master Wuji, Senior Lin, Senior Nangong, please come in. After the 5 of them went in, Yun Chujio activated the isolation array. Although the fangirls stretched their necks, they could not see anything. After the 5 of them chatted for a while, Shui Wuji impatiently knocked out the 2 unlucky extras. Little sister Jiu, happy birthday. Shui Wuji took out a big cake from his storage ring. Although it was not amazing, it looked pretty good. Thank you, brother Wuji. Yun Chujio smiled happily. Shui Wuji looked at Yun Chujia's smiling face and felt that the cake that 20 chefs worked hard for a month was worth it. This is just a small gift. This is the present that I want to give you. Shui Wuji handed Yun Chujio a stack of talismans. Little sister Jiu, there are concealment talismans, burst talismans, and 3 voice transmission talismans. In the future, if you miss me, you can send a message to me. Shui Wuji said proudly. Hearing Shui Wuji's words, Di Baiming frowned slightly but did not say anything. Di Baiming, where's your birthday present? Shui Wuji said in a threatening manner. He had collected these talismans for a long time, so Di Baiming's present definitely could not compare to his. Di Baiming threw out a stone from his storage ring, and then the stone grew bigger and bigger until it was as big as a door. After Di Baiming formed a seal, images started to appear on it. Yun Chu and the others appeared on the shadow rock. Little Jiu. Happy 18th birthday. Then, it was the people from the Spirit Radiance sect. Happy 18th birthday, little ancestor Yun. Then, it was the people from the Thunder sect. Happy 18th birthday, Sect Master. Chapter 1128 Could it be a treasure map? The last person to appear on the shadow stone was Yun Xiaotian. Little Jiu, today is your birthday. Grandfather can't celebrate your birthday personally. You must take good care of yourself in Tianyuan Academy and cultivate well. You don't have to worry about grandfather and family. Baiming has sent people to take good care of us. Di Baiming handed Yun Chujio a lot of things. This is a congratulatory gift from everyone. Yun Chujio's eyes reddened. Thank you, Prince Charming. Little sister Jiu, hurry up and light a candle and make a wish. Shui Wuji felt sour in his heart. He had lost this round again. Although his gift made little sister Jiu smile and Di Baiming's gift made little sister Jiu cry, little sister Jiu would definitely like Di Baiming's gift. The 3 of them ate the cake and put away the remaining cake. They woke up Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue. The 5 of them chatted for a while before the 4 of them left. The next day at noon, Yun Chujio rushed to the library after lunch. When they reached the 8th floor of the library, the dry old man had already prepared the sheepskin scroll. Yun Chujio greeted him with a smile and began to copy the book obediently. This fellow was very good at making merry out of hardships. She treated these ancient characters as pieces of spirit stones. After she finished writing one, she felt that she had earned a spirit stone. She was immediately motivated and wrote quickly. When the old man saw it from behind, he clicked his tongue in wonder. 2 days ago, this little girl looked like she was on the verge of death when she was copying. Why was she copying so happily today? It was as if she had picked up money. Yun Chujio copied for a while and then found a few pieces of paper in the pages of the book. She looked around and saw that the old man had left without her knowing, so she secretly opened the paper. This guy thought, could it be a treasure map or something like that? Blessed people don't need to be busy. They could copy a treasure map even when they were copying books. The words that she copied were indeed spiritual stones. Yun Chujio opened the paper with anticipation and took a look. Her heart instantly turned cold. There was no map at all on it. There were only dense words on it. However, these words corresponded to some ancient characters. Could it be that the old man deliberately left this for her? Was he going to teach her ancient characters? The ancient characters recorded on the few pieces of paper did not correspond to each other one by one. There were a lot of paradoxes. One had to read those goatskin books to slowly understand the specific meaning. Although Yun Chujio had a temperamental personality and liked to be lazy and sly, she had one advantage, which was that she was focused. Once she was focused on something, she would be very focused. Therefore, she stayed in the library until the next morning. She did not notice Di Biming and Xue Wuji sending him a voice transmission talisman. The dry old man came twice in between, but he did not disturb Yun Chujio when he saw how focused she was. He only walked to Yun Chujio's side when it was time for class in the morning and said, "Little foodie, you won't become fat in one bite. Come back tomorrow." Yun Chujio reluctantly put down the paper in her hand and thanked the old man. Only then did she leave the library and quickly ran to the classroom. This fellow was running to the classroom when he sent a message back to Di Biming and Xue Wuji, telling them that she did not need to go to the library this afternoon. Yun Chujio had just entered the classroom and sat on her seat when she heard the exclamations of the crowd. She turned her head and saw Di Biming and Xue Wuji walking into the classroom with Nangong Luoyue and Lin Han. Nangong Luoyue waved at Yun Chujio, "Junior Yun, Your Excellency and young Master Wuji would like to observe a class. Come over and sit here too." Chapter 1129 was all about acting. Yun Chujio walked over eagerly. The problem was that there were a total of 5 people. How were they going to divide the table between 2 people? The most reasonable allocation would be Di Biming and Xue Wuji sharing a table, Yun Chujio and Nangong Luoyue sharing a table, and Lin Han sharing a table. Unexpectedly, after Di Biming sat down, he said impatiently, "What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and sit down. Class is about to start." After Di Biming finished speaking, he waved his sleeve and Yun Chujio, who was the closest to him, fell down on the chair. The 2 of them became desk mates. "You 2 sit at the table in front. I can just sit at my own table." Xue Wuji cursed in his heart. Damn that facial paralysis. He didn't expect that there were so many tricks up his sleeve. He actually beat him to it. At this moment, Teacher Ji Sha walked in and nodded slightly at Di Biming and Xue Wuji. Class started as usual. Yun Chujio was absent-minded as Teacher Ji Sha had already taught her all the lessons. In addition to not sleeping last night, she was feeling drowsy. Just as she was about to fall asleep, she felt her hand being held by someone. She looked down and saw Di Biming holding Yun Chujio's left hand with his wide sleeves. Yun Chujio's thick skin, which had been thick for thousands of years, actually turned slightly red. A song inexplicably rang in her mind, "Will you remember tomorrow, the diary you wrote yesterday, will you still remember tomorrow, the one who used to love to cry the most?" Di Biming held Yun Chujio's small hand that was as soft as jade. His heart itched. It was all that damn Xue Wuji's fault. He was like a follower all day long. He did not have the chance to be alone with little Jiu. When little Jiu was resting. No matter what, he had to be alone with little Jiu. It wasn't until the spirit energy class ended that Di Biming reluctantly let go of Yun Chujio's left hand. Then, he said expressionlessly, "Xue Wuji, it's time for us to leave. Let's go and bid farewell to Dean Huangfu." Di Biming thought for a moment and took out 3 upper-grade spirit tools from his storage ring and handed them to Yun Chujio and the other 2. "Thank you for accompanying us, junior brothers and sisters. Thank you for your trouble." Xue Wuji also took out 3 high-grade spirit tools and gave them to the 3 of them. He also gave Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue an additional high-grade spirit tool each. "You should try your best to accompany us. You should get more." Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue were overwhelmed by the favor and thanked him profusely. They even looked at Yun Chujio sympathetically. Young Master Wuji was obviously very dissatisfied with Junior Yun. They did not know if it would have any negative effect on her. Yun Chujio thought to herself, Wu Ji's brain sure knows how to act, so she should just act along with him. Hence, this fellow's face revealed an extremely awkward expression as he followed behind her embarrassedly. After Di Baiming, Shui Wuji, and Dean Huangfu bid their farewells, they left the Tianyuan Academy under the farewell of everyone. Lin Han and Nangong Luoyue were immediately surrounded by many students, asking about the details of the past 3 days and passing on the spirit tools they had obtained. Yun Chujia's side was much quieter. Those with eyes could see that the Venerable One and young Master Wuji were very dissatisfied with her. However, it was also true. It was said that Yun Chujio had been left behind by an old man from the library as a coolie these few days. She did not have time to accompany the Venerable One and young Master Wuji. She was really unlucky. Feng Ming and the other two found it funny when they heard the discussions of the crowd. If these people knew about the relationship between the Venerable One and young Master Wuji and little ninth junior sister, they probably would not say this. It had to be said that life was like a play. It all depended on acting. Chapter 1130. The Old Witch came in the following period of time. Yun Chujio spent most of her time in the library, except for her regular classes. She was very good at using chicken feathers as a command arrow, and she never allowed the instructors in the library to deduct contribution points. She confidently claimed that she was here to help Old Man Ganba. Old Man Ganba obviously had a special status. After Yun Chujio said this, the instructor who was guarding the library let her in. Sometimes, Yun Chujio helped the old man copy books, sometimes she studied the ancient characters, and sometimes she read other books in the library. The old man turned a blind eye to this. As long as Yun Chujio gave him the roast chicken regularly, it would be fine. Master, you've been going to the library so often that you don't have time to cultivate. What will happen to the mid-year competition? Yin Xinlian, that little bitch's challenge order has already come into effect. In a few months, you'll have to go to the life and death arena with her. Xiao Hanio felt that he had broken his heart with this troublesome master. Little bitches kept coming out and jumping around. Sharpening the knife doesn't delay cutting the vegetables. However, what you said makes sense. It's been 2 months since I broke through to the 3rd level of the spirit sect last time. These few days, I'll work harder and try to break through again. After being struck by lightning last time, Yun Chujio had already advanced to the 3rd level of the spirit sect. However, this fellow was used to pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger and had not adjusted the level of her spiritual power, so others saw her as still at the 1st level of the spirit sect. Xiao Hanio and the other two looked at each other. Our perverted master is leveling up as if it's a game. It turns out that her leveling up is very regular. Once every 2 months. In the next few days, Yun Chujio and the dry old man applied for leave and began to focus on cultivation, preparing to break through again. That afternoon, Yun Chujio came to the canteen for lunch. Before she had finished eating, she heard a few students running in from outside. Another important figure has come to our academy. Important figure? Who has come? Your Eminence and young Master Wuji have come again. It's not Your Eminence and young Master Wuji, it's the Lady of the Hall Master of the Temple of Immortals. And it's said that she has brought a lot of good things with her. She wants to reward students who are both excellent in their character and learning. The Lady of the Temple Master has always been generous. Every time our 3 pearls of the Academy attends the flower feast, she will be rewarded with a lot of good things. However, doesn't the Lady of the Temple Master rarely leave the Temple of Immortals? Why did she come to the Tianyuan Academy this time? Who knows? She probably came out to relax. Ah. I know. Yun Chujio is the daughter of the Lady of the Temple Master's old friend. The Lady of the Temple Master must be here to see Yun Chujio. Everyone's eyes were focused on Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. The old witch would not be so kind to come and see her. She must be preparing to do something again. While everyone was discussing, Yin Sulian walked in. Ever since she was rebuked by Xue Wuji, she had been quiet for a while. However, she soon showed off her power again. Hey! Yun Chujio, the palace mistress has asked to see you. She is waiting for you in the hall of the academy. Hurry up. If you are late, you will suffer the wrath of her. Yin Sulian showed a contemptuous look. She thought that Yun Chujio held a lot of weight in the palace mistress' heart. However, when she heard the palace mistress' contemptuous tone today, she immediately felt relieved. It seemed that the palace mistress was just pitying her. Yun Chujio glanced at her. I know. Although Yun Chujio said that she knew, she still ate her meal slowly and had no intention of getting up. Yin Sulian wanted to urge her, but she had an idea and left with a cold smile. Chapter 1131 The Old Witch Who Squandered Little Ninth Junior Sister, that Yin Sulian must have gone to complain. Hurry up and stop eating and chase after her. Feng Ming said worriedly. That's right, little ninth junior sister. If the palace master's wife finds out that you've been neglecting her, she'll definitely fly into a rage. Shi Xian also advised from the side. Class monitor, what Feng Ming and Shi Xian said makes sense. Hurry up and go. It said that the palace master's wife's temper isn't too good. If she really blames you, it'll be bad. Class monitor, the hall master's wife is your big backer. If you really offend her, what will you do in the future? Yun Chujio sighed. Sometimes, it was not a good thing to be too popular. She could only put down her chopsticks and get up to leave the canteen. Everyone saw that she was still walking slowly and kept urging her. Yun Chujio thought to herself, what do you know? No matter how attentive she was to that old witch, she would still find fault with her. Yun Chujio finally wandered into the Tian Yuan Academy's reception hall. The Tian Yuan Academy's reception hall had a large living room and a small living room. The large living room was semi-open, and the people outside the courtyard could also see the situation inside. The small living room was the kind of enclosed courtyard that isolated outsiders from prying eyes. The hall master's wife was in the large meeting hall, so Yun Chujio could see the crowd from afar. When the onlookers saw Yun Chujio coming, they could not help but look at her meaningfully. In fact, they really wanted to express their disdain and ridicule, but because of Yun Chujio's previous valiant performance, they could only hold it in and not reveal it, afraid that Yun Chujio would be concerned about it. Yun Chujio followed the path that everyone had given her and walked to the front of the crowd. When she saw the scene in front of her, Yun Chujio's heart felt as if it was a beeping dog. What the fuck, did this old witch bring all the treasures of the Temple of Immortals here? She was too cocky. She saw that the floor of the reception room was covered with a snow-white cashmere carpet. On top of it were all kinds of high-grade spirit tools and elixirs, not to mention the pastries and spirit fruits on the tables of the crowd. Yun Chujio was instantly enraged. The first thought that came to her mind was, this old hag of a prodigal family. These things will belong to me in the future. How can you give my things to others? Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Humph. No matter what, she had to ruin this matter. Even if she had to give them to them, she had to give them to her. If she were to give them to Yin Xinlian and those flirtatious bitches, they would be completely stupid. Yun Chujio shifted her gaze away from the treasures and started to size up the people sitting in the guest hall. Although the palace mistress was a guest, she was seated in the master's seat due to her high status. Dean Huangfu and the 4 vice-deans were there to accompany her. Other than them, there were also some outstanding students from Tianyuan Academy. San Shu and Yin Sulian were also seated. When everyone saw Yun Chuzhou enter, their gazes naturally fell on her. Yin Sulian's face was filled with schadenfreude. She had already exaggerated Yun Chuzhou's actions and reported it to the palace mistress. Yun Chuzhou, just wait to be reprimanded. As expected, the palace lord's wife looked at Yun Chuzhou with displeasure. Little trash, little Jiu girl, I heard that I sent someone to call you. You're very reluctant to come and see me. Do you have any objections to me? When everyone heard the palace lord's wife say this, they thought to themselves, Yun Chuzhou is going to be in trouble. This Yun Chuzhou is really a demon. The palace lord's wife is your biggest backer, yet you're still dawdling all the way here. Aren't you just looking for trouble? The palace master's wife is no longer protecting you, let's see what you will do in the future. Chapter 1132 You're the one who's fucking old. Just as everyone was cursing in their hearts, they heard Yun Chuzhou scream. The palace master's wife was so scared that she trembled. Everyone was also so scared that they wondered if this Yun Chuzhou had gone crazy. Ah! Auntie! Is it really you? I thought that little bitch Yin Sulian was lying to me. She said, there's an old man looking for me. Oh my God. This is blatant slander. You look just like my biological sister, why are you getting old? She has always been at odds with me, so I feel that she must be lying to me. My dear aunt, why would I have any objections towards you? I simply love you to death. The palace lord's wife's face was filled with bewilderment. Aunt? Biological sister? Darling? Love her to death. The palace lord's wife felt that her brain wasn't enough. What kind of trick was this little trash playing? However, she also felt that ever since Bei Ming gave her that medicinal pill, her appearance had become even more beautiful. Bei Ming even said that the medicinal pill was given to her by the little trash. Bah! How was this possible? It must have been given to him by Bei Ming's master. In order for her to change her impression of the little trash, he lied and said that it was given by the little trash. Did he think that she was so easy to fool? Auntie, why aren't you speaking? Am I so excited that I can't speak when I see little Jiu? Are these gifts all for me? Auntie, you are really too good to little Jiu. No wonder ever since I arrived in the Tianyuan continent, everyone has said that Auntie, you are the noblest, kindest, and most generous fairy. You are so considerate to an old friend of mine. It is really admirable. Yun Chuzhou said as she shamelessly picked the most valuable thing and put it into her storage ring. Damn it, this would all belong to her in the future. She couldn't let this prodigal old hag be so smug. Obviously, the palace mistress had never met such a self-deprecating and shameless person. For a moment, she was stunned and didn't say anything. Yun Chuzhou took advantage of this time to collect most of the things on the ground. Only some food and spiritual fruits were left. Yun Chuzhou. Are you shameless? Did the palace mistress say that she would give it to you? Quickly take out all the things. Yin Sulian couldn't hold it in any longer. The palace master's wife had said before that these things were to be rewarded to the students that she had taken good care of, and there was also a portion for her. Now, she had asked Yun Chuzhou to keep them all, leaving only a pile of food. Yun Chuzhou glanced at her. Scram to the side. My aunt hasn't settled the score with you yet. You actually called my beautiful and peerless aunt an old fellow. What do you have in mind? Previously, you tried to kill me without caring about my aunt's feelings. Now, you're slandering my aunt. Could it be that your Yin family has some evil intentions towards the Temple of Immortals? Oh right, a few days ago, you were so eager to flatter young Master Wuji. Could it be that you want to join the Blood Demon sect to deal with the Temple of Immortals? Yin Sulian was dumbfounded by Yun Chujia's scolding. She had just gone to deliver a freaking message. How did their Yin family become the most heinous sinner who wanted to go against the Temple of Immortals when it came to Yun Chujio? The onlookers were glad that they did not mock Yun Chujio. Damn it, this guy's mouth was too sharp. He had reversed the truth in such a short time. Not only did he earn a lot of money, he even brought Yin Sulian into the ditch. Yun Chujio, you're talking nonsense. When did I say that the palace master's wife is an old man? Yin Sulian said angrily with a red face. Yun Chujio pointed at Yin Sulian with one hand on her waist and scolded angrily, if you have the guts to say it, don't you have the guts to admit it? When you said it back then, there were hundreds of people listening in the canteen. You didn't just say it once, you kept saying that she is an old woman, Pa. The palace master's wife looks younger than you, but you are the one who is fucking old. Shameless. Chapter 1133 You are the person who dotes on me the most. Yin Sulian's face flushed red as she said repeatedly in anger, No, you're spouting nonsense. Palace mistress, I didn't mean that. Although the palace mistress knew that Yun Chujio was pestering her, no matter who it was, they would still be unhappy if they were called old. Therefore, she kept a straight face and did not say a word. Seeing this, Yin Xinlian quickly stood up from her seat. She bowed to the palace master's wife and said, Palace master's wife, the old man that Su Lian said just wanted to show her respect to you. She did not mean anything else. Please forgive her. The palace master's wife returned to her previous noble and elegant demeanor and waved her hand. Forget it. I know that you are all good children. It's not a big deal even if it's an unintentional mistake. Thank you very much, palace master's wife. Yin Xinlian gave Yin Sulian a look and the two of them returned to their seats after bowing. The palace master's wife glanced at Yun Chujio. Little Jiu, you need to change your tricky personality. It was just an unintentional mistake. How did it become so serious when it came to you? When can you change your little family's habits? When everyone saw that the palace mistress treated the Yin sisters and Yun Chujio in a completely different way, they came to a conclusion. It seemed that the palace mistress did not like Yun Chujio very much. The care she gave Yun Chujio before was probably only for the sake of Yun Chujio's parents. Yun Chujio cursed the palace mistress in her heart. Childish habits. Tui. How many good things do you have to waste on a prodigal old woman like you? It seemed that if she were to marry her in the future, the key to the treasure house would have to be in her hands. If she were to put it in the hands of the old witch, she would have to show off sooner or later. Auntie, I knew that you loved me the most in this world. As the saying goes, love is deep and deep. Every word of yours is full of love for me. Also, these pastries and spiritual fruits are my favorites. I didn't expect you to remember all of them. Don't worry, I know your good intentions. I won't take it to heart. Yun Chujio said. She shamelessly picked up a spirit fruit and started munching on it. When she saw that there was an empty seat beside her, she naturally sat down. The palace master's wife was almost blinded by Yun Chujio's thick skin. If it was an ordinary lady, wouldn't she be ashamed of herself after what she said earlier? She actually had the face to eat it. But under everyone's watchful eyes, she couldn't argue that she just didn't like you and that she just didn't like you, right? The palace lord's wife took a deep breath. Little Joe girl, other things are fine, but those things, I'm not giving them to you, in preparing to reward those students who perform well. Hurry up and take them out, don't be naughty. When everyone heard the palace master's wife's words, they immediately turned to look at Yun Chujio. No matter how thick-skinned you were, the palace master's wife had already said it so clearly. You should at least take out the things, right? Aunt, how can you be so stingy? Although these things aren't bad, they aren't worthy of your noble status at all. You want to reward them. Saying a few words of encouragement is a great honor to them. Hey, Yin Xinlian, let me ask you, do you want a spiritual weapon or do you want my aunt's encouragement? Of course, Xinlian wants the palace mistress' encouragement and affirmation. Yin Xinlian was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Of course, she wanted a spiritual weapon. But could she be honest with her words? Yun Chuzhou nodded. Then who, you, and all of you, do you want a spiritual weapon or my aunt's encouragement and affirmation? Yun Chuzhou casually pointed at the outstanding student representatives present. These people were so depressed that they wanted to vomit blood, but they all said, naturally, they want to receive the hall master's wife's encouragement and affirmation. Chapter 1134 is here to stand up for Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou clapped her hands. Aunt, did you hear that? They are more willing to receive your encouragement and affirmation, so I will reluctantly accept those pieces of junk that they don't value. The hall master's wife felt a headache coming on. Initially, she thought that the students of Tianyuan Academy were the favored ones of the heavens, but now that she looked at them, they were a bunch of fucking trash. Even more trash than the little trash. You guys are just going to let her lead you by the nose like that? Can't you think of a way to refute her? Dean Huanfu saw that the hall master's wife was so angry that her expression had changed. He hurriedly tried to smooth things over and said, Hall master's wife, what they said is right. It is our great honor for you to be able to come to our Tianyuan Academy. Why don't I get a few student representatives to showcase their results and let you appraise them? The hall master's wife knew that Dean Huangfu was only giving her a way out, so she could only nod her head. Alright, the students of Tianyuan Academy have always been outstanding. I believe that they will not disappoint me. These student representatives naturally wanted to leave a good impression on the hall master's wife. Although the spirit weapon had been shamelessly taken by Yun Chuzhou as her own, it was still extremely beneficial to be able to obtain the hall master's wife's affirmation. Thus, each and every one of them scrambled to demonstrate their specialties. Some performed fist techniques, some performed sword techniques, some performed materialization of spiritual energy, and some directly took out refined pills for the palace master's wife to look at. Almost all of the students performed their specialty moves. Only one person sat as steady as a mountain and ate non-stop. Fuck, she wasn't even full from lunch just now, so she could only eat a few snacks. The palace mistress was in no mood to watch those performances. She had been thinking about how she could make Yun Chuzhou lose face and how she could turn the tables. She was really angry today. Not only did she not achieve her goal of coming here, but she also brought along a lot of spirit weapons. It was simply a double loss for the mistress. When the palace mistress saw Yun Chuzhou eating and eating, she couldn't help but say, Little Jiu, the others have all performed their specialties. You've been in school for 3 months already. Have you learned how to materialize your spirit energy? When the crowd heard the palace mistress question, they all had complicated expressions on their faces. Could it be that they had misunderstood? In fact, the palace mistress had come to stand up for Yun Chuzhou. Otherwise, why would she ask Yun Chuzhou what she was best at? What this fellow was best at, and what he was most proud of, was the materialization of spiritual power. The palace mistress, however, misunderstood everyone's expressions. She was secretly delighted. It seemed that trash was indeed trash. Yun Chuzhou must not have learned how to materialize her spiritual power yet. Coincidentally, Yun Chuzhou had been busy cultivating these few days and did not return to the Long Wind Inn. Therefore, shopkeeper Qi did not know about Yun Chuzhou's heroic deeds, so the lady of the hall master naturally had no way of knowing. When Yun Chuzhou heard the lady of the hall master ask this question, an embarrassed expression appeared on her face. "Aunt, you still don't know me? I'm the most lazy person. I've been cultivating for 3 days and fishing for fish 2 days, and I've only learned about most of the materialization of spiritual power. It's better not to perform, lest I embarrass you." Everyone wished they could strangle her to death. "Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning for lying so blatantly?" The level of materialization of spiritual power had crushed all the low-level materialization of spiritual power in a month's time, and you're still not satisfied? The palace master's wife did not know the twists and turns in this matter. When she heard Yun Chujio say this, she felt that Yun Chujio had not learned it at all. With a sullen face, she said, "You're really disappointing. You are already lucky enough to be able to enter the Tianyuan Academy, yet you still don't know how to improve. Show me immediately, I want to see how disappointing you are. It can't be that you haven't learned it yet, right?" Chapter 1135, Please don't laugh. When everyone heard what the palace mistress said, they felt that the plot had changed again. The palace mistress' words were full of disdain and disdain. Could it be that she had asked Yun Chujio to perform the materialization of spiritual power because she really did not know about Yun Chujio's abnormal talent? Yun Chujio put down the pastry in her hand, tilted her head and said in a coquettish tone, "Aunt, it's not impossible for me to perform. If you give me a reward, I'll perform. Otherwise, I won't be embarrassed." The palace master's wife's expression was very ugly. "You can just call me the palace master's wife. I don't dare to be your aunt. I'll just let you perform. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Auntie, how can you be so fierce? Sob, auntie, you don't love me anymore. Didn't you say that from now on, you would treat me like your own daughter? You even said that I was your caring little cotton-padded jacket. How did my little cotton-padded jacket turn into a tattered shirt in just a few months?" Yun Chujio's tears fell one after another. The expression on her face was even more heartbroken. The palace master's wife felt that everyone was looking at her like they were looking at a stepmother. At this moment, she regretted it 1,000 times. Why did her brain go crazy at that time, telling shopkeeper Chi that Yun Chujio was her old friend's daughter? This was the stupidest thing she had ever done in her life. She had thought that the little good-for-nothing would be suppressed by jealousy because of her identity, but why did she look more smug? Now, almost everyone knew that the little rascal Yun Chujio was her old friend's daughter. If she denied it, it would be equivalent to slapping herself in the face, so she could only take it head-on. The palace mistress took a deep breath. "Little Jiu girl, I'm just regretting my failure. I don't mean to despise you. Hurry up and show me. If your performance is good, I'll give you a reward." The palace mistress thought to herself, "This little trash probably doesn't know how to materialize spiritual power at all. Moreover, even if you do, they'll just say that it's not good enough, and you can't force me to reward you." Yun Chujio smiled brightly. "I knew that aunt dotes on me the most. I'll perform for you now, and I guarantee that you'll be satisfied." The hall master's wife was stunned by Yun Chujio's tearful smile. Why is this little girl getting more and more beautiful? Humph. It must be Bei Ming who secretly gave her the beauty pills again. No matter how beautiful she was still a little trash. "Oh right, auntie, if you perform well, what will you reward me with? I know that you have always been generous. Is it 1,000,000 upper-grade spirit stones or an immortal item?" Yun Chujio asked with a smile. The palace master's wife squeezed out a few words from between her teeth, 1,000,000 upper-grade spirit stones. Yun Chujio instantly felt as if she had been injected with stimulants. "All right. Auntie, in order to get your approval, I will definitely perform well." Everyone ridiculed, "Pooey. We think that you should be doing it for the spirit stones. You miser. Just now, You had already taken so many spirit tools for yourself, yet you are still not satisfied? How greedy! Yun Chujio walked to the open space outside the courtyard and said to the palace master's wife, "Auntie, the thing that my spirit energy materializes is quite extraordinary. Please take a good look." The palace master's wife snorted coldly and picked up the teacup to take a sip of tea. Then, she almost choked to death on the tea. What the hell did the little rascal materialize? A needle? It actually materialized into a needle. Although the palace master's wife felt that it was beneath her dignity to laugh, she couldn't help but say, "Haha, little nine, is the thing that you materialized into a needle? Are you preparing to be a tailor?" Everyone looked at the palace master's wife sympathetically. Please don't laugh. The more happy you laugh now, the more you will be slapped in the face. Chapter 1136, Yin Sulian. Who was blamed? Yin Sulian felt that this was a good opportunity to make up for her mistakes, hence, she stood up and said, "Palace mistress, you may not know this, but although Yun Chujio is useless, her spiritual power materialization technique is actually, still passable." Yin Sulian was really unwilling to praise Yun Chujio, so she could only say that it was passable. However, the palace mistress misunderstood and thought that Yin Sulian was mocking Yun Chujio. Following her words, she said, "You're right. Although Little Nine's materialization is a little weird, she has finally learned the materialization technique. She's not too useless." Yin Sulian saw that the palace mistress misunderstood her meaning and quickly said, "Palace mistress, I didn't mean that. I wanted to say, you don't have to say anymore. I know that Little Nine's talent is limited and she doesn't want to improve. It's already not bad for her to be able to train like this." The palace mistress said with a little pride. "Little trash, let's see how you will have the face to ask me for a reward later." Materializing a needle was simply too funny. After the palace mistress finished speaking, she saw that everyone had a conflicted look on their faces. She was puzzled. Could it be that Little Trash had a good relationship with people? Why did everyone have such a conflicted look on their faces? Right at this moment, Yun Chujio's clear voice was heard. Explode! That small purple needle suddenly burst out with a dazzling light. It immediately exploded like fireworks. Everyone cried out in surprise. Although they knew that Yun Chujio's physical transformation spell attack power was over 1,000, they had never seen the appearance of the small purple needle exploding. Damn, this was too shocking. The palace mistress was so shocked that she almost stood up. How could such a small needle have such astonishing attack power? From the looks of it, it seemed to be more than 1,000 points. Didn't it already reach the level of an intermediate physical transformation skill? Auntie, how is it? Isn't it beautiful? When your birthday is over, you don't need to set off fireworks anymore. Just use the Little 9 thunderbolt needles that I materialized to celebrate for you. Yun Chujio hopped into the house and said proudly. The palace mistress didn't say anything for a long time. She glared fiercely at Yin Sulian. Trash. She couldn't even speak clearly. It made her say such embarrassing words just now. Yin Sulian really wanted to bang her head against the wall. It's not that I didn't want to say it, but you didn't give me a chance to say it clearly. Seeing that the palace mistress was silent, Yun Chujio said with a smile, Auntie, quickly give me 1 million high-grade spirit stones. Moreover, I performed so well, don't you want to give me more? Although the palace mistress wanted to renege on her debt, this little trash was too freakish. After learning the materialization technique for 3 months, she had already crushed all the low-grade materialization techniques. If she said that she wasn't satisfied, then she was just lying through her teeth. The palace mistress reluctantly transferred 1,000,000 high-grade spirit stones to Yun Chujio and snorted coldly, "It's alright, continue to work hard." Yun Chujio made a small fortune and immediately smiled, "Auntie, don't worry, I'll definitely train hard, I won't embarrass you." The palace mistress felt that Yun Chujio's smile was too annoying. She wanted to make her lose face, but now, she got 1,000,000 spirit stones. It was all because of that Yin Sulian. Since she knew that Yun Chujio's materialization technique was so abnormal. Why didn't she stop her when she first said it? By the time the little trash was done with her performance, she had already jumped out. She still didn't understand what she was saying. What a trash. Chapter 1137 My aunt's taste is top-notch. Yun Chujio returned to her seat and crossed her legs as she continued to munch on the pastries. She felt that the palace mistress was actually not bad. She would come over every once in a while to give her some warmth. In a sense, she could be considered a good mother-in-law of Tianyuan. When the palace mistress saw that Yun Chujio was enjoying the pastries, her heart felt even more stifled. Her face was as heavy as water, and the pressure on her entire being lowered. Everyone could see that the palace master's wife was unhappy, and they finally confirmed one thing in their hearts. The palace master's wife really did not like Yun Chujio, and the care she had given her before was probably due to her pride. Yin Xinlian's heart moved. Although Su Lian had messed things up a little earlier, this was a great opportunity. She could not only please the palace master's wife, but she could also suppress Yun Chujio. She had to seize this opportunity. Yin Xinlian stood up from her seat and bowed to the palace mistress. "Palace mistress, Xinlian has done something wrong. Please forgive me." The palace mistress was stunned. "What did you do wrong?" "Some time ago, Yun Chujio and my sister had an argument. She forced my sister to kneel down in front of everyone to apologize to her. I tried to persuade her, but she refused to budge. I impulsively issued a challenge to her. 5 months later, we will compete on the life and death arena. After that, I also regretted it. I felt that I was a little impulsive at the time, but I couldn't take back what I said. Please forgive me, palace mistress. Although life and death don't matter on the life and death arena, but I will definitely show mercy when the time comes." Yin Xinlian said with a face full of guilt. Before the palace mistress said anything, Yun Chujio threw a piece of cake at Yin Xinlian. Yin Xinlian never thought that Yun Chujio would attack her in front of the palace master's wife. The piece of cake immediately hit her hair bun, and her carefully combed hair turned into a mess. The piece of cake that Yun Chujio threw was still sticky and stuck stubbornly to Yin Xinlian's hair. Yin Xinlian screamed and jumped up, her face full of fear. She had no idea what had happened. Yin Sulian, who was at the side, cursed angrily, "Yun Chujio, you bitch. What are you trying to do? You actually hit my sister in front of the palace master's wife. Just you wait, I won't forgive you. I'm going to cut you into pieces." The palace master's wife looked at Yin Xinlian, who had disheveled hair, and Yin Sulian, who had no manners at all, and frowned. The Yin sisters used to look smart, but why did they look so stupid today? Yun Chujio looked at Yin Sulian indifferently. "Are you done cursing? Isn't it my turn to finish? I didn't hit Yin Xinlian." I just felt that she was talking nonsense and wanted to use a sticky cake to cover her mouth, but I didn't throw it accurately and threw it on her hair. Such a person was not worthy to be the representative of our Tianyuan Academy's students. It was simply too embarrassing. It was fine if she had embarrassed the members of your Yin family, but now that she was representing our Tianyuan Academy, I really couldn't stand it anymore. "What do you mean by forcing Yin Sulian to admit her mistake?" Back then, was it Yin Sulian who was so shameless that she insisted on competing with me in materialization of spiritual force? Even after losing the competition, she was still so shameless that she wanted to renege on her debt. What was even more shameless was that Yin Xinlian actually wanted to use a challenge order to threaten me. Humph. In representing my aunt's face, why would I be afraid of you? Isn't it just a life and death arena? Let's meet again in 5 months. You don't have to say it nicely and still show mercy. In your heart, you wish you could strangle me to death. Don't you find it disgusting to say such hypocritical words? When the time comes, let's have a showdown. The one who will lose will definitely be you, Yin Xinlian. Because, my aunt's taste is top-notch. She once said that I'm a once-in-lifetime genius, one of the top 10 people on the prodigy roll in the future. You want to compete with me? I'll torture you to death. Chapter 1138. How could she be so arrogant and domineering at this moment? The palace mistress felt that it was a small matter for her to be tricked by Yun Chuzhou, this little piece of trash. It seemed that this little rascal still gave her some face. This guy's words were too harsh and shameless. Yin Sulian and Yin Xinlian wanted to interrupt a few times, but Yun Chuzhou did not give them the chance to speak at all. She blabbered on and accused her harshly. After saying that, she asked the palace mistress with a smile, "Auntie, don't you think I'm right? Do you have good taste?" The palace mistress gaped and did not know how to answer. Admit that she had good taste. Didn't that mean that she had admitted that she was the one who said those shameless words? Deny it. She felt that what the little trash said made sense. Her taste was indeed top-notch. The palace master's wife hesitated. Yun Chuzhou immediately said, "My aunt is too modest. She's too embarrassed to admit that she has good taste. Why are the two of you still standing here? You're embarrassing yourself. Hurry up and get out." Yin Xinlian and Yin Sulian were so angry that they couldn't say anything. Everyone also had looks of disbelief on their faces. There was no one else who could say such things. Also, this Yun Chuzhou was really too daring. Wasn't she afraid that Dean Huangfu and the palace mistress would get angry at her for acting so recklessly? What kind of occasion was this? How could she be allowed to act recklessly? However, the crowd realized that not only did the palace mistress not say a word, even Dean Huangfu had a calm expression on his face, as if he hadn't seen anything. Deputy Dean Yin saw the Yin sisters being humiliated like this. He immediately shouted angrily, "Yun Chuzhou, you are really audacious. How can you be so rude in front of the palace master's wife? You have publicly beaten up a classmate, and your words are insolent. According to the rules of the academy, you should be expelled." Yun Chuzhou shrugged nonchalantly, "I didn't hit her. I just wanted to feed her a sticky cake. Besides, when did I say insolent words? Did I say something bad? Deputy Dean Yin, even though your Yin family is powerful, you can't bully people like that, right? I have a backer. My aunt is still sitting there, and you're twisting the facts to frame me. You really don't put my aunt in your eyes. No wonder Yin Sulian wanted to seduce young Master Wuji. So it was premeditated." Deputy Dean Yin flew into a rage out of humiliation. He turned around and bowed to the hall master's wife. "Hall master's wife, this Yun Chuzhou is mischievous and has repeatedly violated the rules of the academy. We did not punish her on account of you. However, she is becoming more and more outrageous now. She is so arrogant in front of you. You can imagine how arrogant and domineering she is usually. Today, I will expel her according to the rules of the academy. Please do not blame me." At this moment, the hall master's wife was still in a daze. Initially, she thought that Yun Chuzhou had ascended from the Tianxian land. Although she was known as the daughter of an old friend of hers, she would still live in fear and trepidation in the Tian Yuan Academy. She was cowardly, but from the looks of it, not only was she not bullied, she was also living like a fish in water. Furthermore, she had repeatedly violated the Academy's rules. Hadn't the Tianyuan Academy always been strict with rules? Why was she still jumping around here after repeatedly violating them? And was she still arrogant and despotic? How could a little trash of the first level of the spirit sect be arrogant and despotic? Wait a moment, shopkeeper Chi seemed to have mentioned this before, but she didn't pay too much attention to it at that time. She seemed to have said something about seniors and feathers. Deputy Dean Een waited for a long time but still didn't see the palace mistress express her opinion. He frowned and coughed dryly. "Palace mistress, what do you think?" The palace mistress finally came back to her senses and asked indifferently, "You said that little ninth girl has repeatedly violated the Academy's rules. Who can tell me how she has violated the Academy's rules?" Chapter 1139 was indeed asking for a beating. Deputy Dean Een had never thought that the wife of the hall master would have such a way of thinking. She only managed to say a few words. Yun Chujio said with disdain, "All right, I'll speak for myself. With your eloquence, I don't know how you managed to get into the position of deputy dean." Deputy Dean Een was so angry that he almost fainted. He gritted his teeth and stood to the side. Yun Chujio had already figured it out long ago. After all, none of the Een family members were good people. They all wanted her dead, so what was there for her to worry about? "You guys are courting death." "Auntie, actually, I didn't do anything overboard. Dean Huangfu and the rest are the most fair and honest people. If I really broke the rules of the academy, would they just sit back and do nothing? It's just that I accidentally offended the lackeys of a certain evil force, so I caused a little disturbance." Here's the thing, Yun Chujio recounted her heroic deeds. In her story, she was a hero who fought against evil forces. She was full of joy and excitement. At first, the palace master's wife was still indifferent, but as she listened, her mood fluctuated along with Yun Chujio's story. She felt that Yun Chujio did a good job. Those shameless people deserve to be taught a lesson. "Aunt, do you think these shameless people deserve a beating?" Yun Chujio suddenly asked. The palace master's wife was still immersed in Yun Chujio's narration, so she subconsciously answered, "They do deserve a beating." After saying that, the palace master's wife knew that she had fallen into Yun Chujio's trap again, but since she had already said it, she could only admit it. Yun Chujio immediately started to show off. "Did you hear that? My aunt said that those people deserved a beating, and the headmaster had never said that he would expel me. Deputy Dean Een, why are you different from the rest? Could it be that those people are really your lackeys?" The veins on Deputy Dean Een's forehead were popping up. If it were not for the fact that he had too many scruples in the academy, he would have slapped Yun Chujio to death. Even so, he still released his pressure on Yun Chujio. He wanted to make her suffer a little, but what puzzled him was that Yun Chujio acted as if nothing had happened and bared her teeth at him. Yun Chujio thought to herself, "I'm not even afraid of the pressure of heavenly thunder, why would I be afraid of an old man like you?" Deputy Dean Een took a deep breath. "Let's not talk about the past for now. What about the fact that you beat up Een Xinlian today? Didn't I already say that? I didn't beat her up. I just wanted to feed her a sticky cake so that she wouldn't embarrass herself. I was doing it for her own good. How did it turn into beating her up? Senior Qin, Senior Bai Li, tell me, did I beat up Een Xinlian?" Yun Chujio pointed at Qin Mingzhu and Bai Li Yan. These two people were gloating over her misfortune. Een Xinlian had lost her honor this time. The palace master's wife's impression of her had probably plummeted. If she still wanted to snatch her honor, she could dream on. When they suddenly heard Yun Chuzhou ask them, the two of them almost blurted out at the same time, "No." Hearing the two of them say this, Deputy Dean Yin's expression became even more unsightly. However, he couldn't do anything to Qin Mingzhu and Bai Liyan. Although the Yin family was powerful, the Gui Yuan sect and Medicine King Valley weren't given to them for free. Therefore, the two of them didn't put Deputy Dean Yin in their eyes at all. "Deputy Dean Yin, my aunt and two senior sisters have proven that I did not beat Yin Xinlian up. You should believe me this time, right? Aunt, it's already noon. You haven't eaten yet, right? Come, I'll treat you to a meal at the canteen." Yun Chuzhou, this fellow, did not know what it meant to be disliked. She immediately moved to the side of the palace master's wife with a look of deep admiration. Chapter 1140 must have been muddled with anger, although the palace mistress really wanted to slap Yun Chuzhou away, but in order to maintain her noble temperament, she could only suppress her displeasure and say, "I'm not hungry. I'd better look around. After all, I was also a student of Tianyuan Academy back then. Aunt, then I'll be your guide. I'm not bragging, but I've visited Tianyuan Academy all over. There's nothing I don't know." Yun Chuzhou instantly turned into a little guide and dragged the palace mistress by her sleeve and left. The palace mistress felt that the anger in her heart had already reached her throat. She tried her best to recite silently, her temperament, and her temperament. Only then did she resist the urge to kick Yun Chuzhou, who was constantly chattering away, away. Just when the palace mistress felt that she was about to explode, Yun Chuzhou actually let go of the palace mistress' sleeve. She said to Qin Mingzhu and Bai Liyan, "Senior sisters, I was bragging just now. I'm just a first-year freshman, how could I be as familiar with the academy as you two? It's better for you to introduce me to my auntie." Qin Mingzhu and Bai Liyan were just resentful that Yun Chuzhou had occupied all of the hall master's wife's attention. They did not expect that Yun Chuzhou would actually give them such a good opportunity. Immediately, the resentment in their hearts disappeared. They gratefully nodded at Yun Chuzhou and then accompanied the hall master's wife on both sides to begin the tour of Tianyuan Academy. Yun Chuzhou, on the other hand, had her hands behind her back. She raised her neck and followed behind the hall master's wife. She looked like a fox pretending to be a tiger. Occasionally, she would interject a few words. In order to express their gratitude to Yun Chuzhou, Qin Mingzhu and Bai Liyan did not mind, they would even go along with what she said. The spectators, who did not know the truth, immediately thought that if even Qin Mingzhu and Bai Liyan were trying to curry favor with Yun Chuzhou, it meant that Yun Chuzhou must have been doted on by the palace master's wife. She did not even bother to let Yun Chuzhou explain. She must have been afraid that she would be too tired. Dean Huanfu was half a step behind the palace master's wife to show his respect. His heart was like a kitten scratching at it. It was strange. From the looks of it, His Excellency seemed to be a couple with Yun Chuzhou. Young Master Wuji also liked this Yun Chuzhou. However, he saw that the hall master's wife did not seem to like Yun Chuzhou very much, so why did she still come to the academy to visit her? He did not know that the hall master's wife had originally come to see Yun Chuzhou as a joke. He did not expect that although Yun Chuzhou's spiritual power was the weakest, she was doing well in the Tianyuan Academy. Moreover, she had become the class monitor of the Huang class, and everyone responded to her. The most infuriating thing was that the Yin sisters seemed to be quite smart in the past, but in the end, they were brought into the gutter by Yun Chuzhou with just a few words. They were really too stupid. The dean's wife listened to Qin Mingzhu and Bai Liyan's explanation absent-mindedly. She was very angry in her heart. Not only did she not see the little trash as a joke, so many spirit tools and 1,000,000 upper-grade spirit stones were also taken by the little rascal. She was really angered to death. However, Yin Xinlian said that in 5 months' time, when she went on the life and death arena, how could the little trash, who was only at the first level of the spirit sect, defeat Yin Xinlian, who was at the first level of the spirit saint realm? It was most likely a disaster. When the Hall Master's wife thought of this, she felt a little unbearable in her heart. Then, she was shocked in her heart. What happened to her? Wasn't it good that the little trash died? Moreover, it was entirely her own doing. It had nothing to do with her. She must have been confused by the little trash. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou, who was following behind, suddenly remembered something very important. Damn it, she had come out in such a hurry just now. There were still many pastries and spiritual fruits left in the living room, so they could all be stored in her storage ring. Those were all her family's things. This old witch was really a prodigal. Chapter 1141 couldn't be wasted at all. The Hall Master's wife paid a symbolic visit to a few places before bidding her farewell. Dean Huangfu tried to persuade her to stay, but when he saw that the Hall Master's wife had already made up her mind, he gave up. Everyone escorted the Hall Master's wife to the main entrance of the Tianyuan Academy. The Hall Master's wife boarded her flying spirit tool. Yun Chuzhou waved her claws and shouted, "Auntie, goodbye. I'll miss you. I love you." The Hall Master's wife staggered. This little lunatic was really too shameless. The Hall Master's wife did not know what she was thinking either. She turned her head and said to Yun Chuzhou with a straight face, "Cultivate well so that you won't be unable to come down from the life and death arena." Yun Chuzhou was stunned. A series of words suddenly flashed through her mind. The prodigal son would not change for the gold when he returned, and the sincerity would open up the gold and stone. Where there was a will, there would be a way. There was nothing difficult in the world, but only those who had a heart would do it. Damn it, was the old witch concerned about her? Wasn't this too shocking? Yun Chuzhou was about to express her excitement when the Hall Master's wife's flying spirit tool had already flown far away. Yun Chuzhou waved her claws symbolically, and then quickly rushed into Tianyuan Academy, sprinting all the way. Everyone looked puzzled. Was Yun Chuzhou feeling anxious internally? Why did she run so fast? Yun Chuzhou ran all the way to the living room. The odd job workers in the academy did not receive any notice, so they did not clean up. This guy put all the spirit fruits and pastries into his storage ring. He did not even let go of the snow cashmere carpet on the ground. Curly Ba also put it into his storage ring. Dean Huangfu and the others who arrived later twitched their eyes. There was no one else who was so greedy. Yun Chuzhou was not embarrassed at all when she was caught in the act. She even boasted shamelessly, "It's not right to waste money. I've always had the virtue of being frugal since I was young." Everyone. When Yun Chuzhou was so beautiful, she felt that the sky was getting dark. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be that she was going to be struck again? When she came out of the room, she raised her head and saw that dark clouds had indeed started to gather. The sky quickly darkened, and the pressure of the clouds also became more and more severe. Wu Yun's face twitched. Yun Chuzhia's face immediately twitched. "Dean, it looks like I'm going to be struck by lightning again. You have to help me, or else my life will be over." Dean Huangfu naturally understood the hidden meaning in Yun Chuzhia's words, so he said, "Come to my courtyard. I'll help you carry a few strikes." Dean Huangfu then said to the others, "Right, the power of the heavenly lightning is too great. To prevent accidents, don't go near my courtyard." Ever since the last time they saw Deputy Dean Yin being struck by the heavenly lightning, they didn't dare to get too close without Dean Huangfu's permission. They were afraid that they would also be accidentally injured by the unreliable heavenly lightning. Although Deputy Dean Yin was severely struck last time, he still felt that there was something fishy going on, so he stood not far away from Din Huangfu's courtyard to watch. Din Huangfu brought Yun Chuzhou into the courtyard and activated the isolation array. Yun Chuzhou looked at the restored ground and said apologetically, "Din, I'm really sorry. I'm afraid your courtyard will suffer again today." Din Huangfu smiled bitterly. "As long as you don't destroy my house. Although you have a special constitution, it's still better to be careful." Yun Chuzhou nodded. She said indifferently, "Din, don't worry. Although this heavenly thunder seems to be quite powerful, it's actually nothing much. By the way, didn't the roasted spirit potato last time taste very good? I'll roast a few more for you today to compensate for the loss of your courtyard." Chapter 1142, Little 9 Roasted Spirit Potatoes. Din Huangfu's face stiffened as he thought to himself, "As the esteemed Din, I am only worth a few roasted spirit potatoes. Alright, the taste of the heavenly lightning roasted spirit potatoes is quite delicious." At this moment, the sky turned even darker. Fortunately, the people of the Tianyuan Academy already had the experience from last time and knew that the heavenly lightning was here to strike Yun Chuzhou, so they didn't panic too much. However, the hall master's wife on the flying spirit tool didn't know. Not long after they flew out, they discovered several dark clouds gathering in the direction of the Tianyuan Academy. Their hearts were shocked. What was going on? Could it be that a unique treasure had appeared? Or a strange beast had appeared? Or could it be that these heavenly lightning were sent by the Tian Dao to kill the little trash? Such a thick layer of clouds contained at least several hundred heavenly lightning bolts. The little trash was probably going to die. Although that little good-for-nothing was not likable, it was still a pity for her to die just like that. Forget it. No one could save the person that Tian Dao wanted to kill. She could only blame her own bad luck. Thinking of this, the lady of the hall master took out the voice transmission talisman. "Old Chi, this heavenly lightning bolt is most likely to strike Yun Chuzhou. She definitely won't survive. After this, you should inquire about the news and help deal with the aftermath." After receiving the voice transmission talisman from the lady of the hall master, shopkeeper Chi started to have some doubts in his heart. Could it be that the lady of the hall master didn't know that the heavenly lightning didn't strike Yun Chuzhou to death last time? Forget it, he wasn't too clear about what happened last time either. It would be better to wait for this incident to be over before reporting to the lady of the hall master. Boom! Boom! At this moment, several heavenly lightning bolts had already struck down towards Yun Chuzhou. This time, Wu Yun was the same Wu Yun who had struck Yun Chuzhou previously. After learning from the previous experience, he had struck Yun Chuzhou fiercely, as if he wouldn't stop until Yun Chuzhou was dead. Din Huangfu's brows were tightly knitted. Although he had already witnessed Yun Chuzhou's abnormal physique last time, the lightning this time was clearly more powerful than the previous one. Could she withstand it? On the other hand, Yun Chuzhou looked carefree. There was a handkerchief tied to her head, and she kept picking up a few pieces of spiritual potatoes. She even muttered, "Io, this spiritual potato is too late. It's a little too hot. This one is roasted just right." The fragrance has already come out. Din Huangfu heard Yun Chuzhou's muttering in the midst of the thunder, and he immediately felt that his worries were unnecessary. This girl was really bold. No wonder she dared to go against Yin Haoyu. She wasn't even afraid of the heavenly thunder, so why should she be afraid of him? This little girl's future achievements would definitely not be inferior to that of His Excellency and young Master Wuji. That old fellow in the library would not let a little girl copy books for no reason. He was afraid that she had other plans. Din Huangfu suddenly thought of a problem. The heavenly thunder would not strike Yun Chuzhou for no reason. Could it be that it struck her because she had broken through? Din Huangfu shook his head again. It shouldn't be. Her current spiritual power was still at the first level of the spirit sect. If she had broken through, why didn't her spiritual power level change? Besides, who would break through once every 2 months? That was too abnormal. Then why did the heavenly lightning strike her so frequently? Was it just to kill her in a hurry? Just as Dean Huangfu was thinking about it, he saw Yun Chuzhou fly out of the pit while the heavenly lightning struck. She threw a few roasted spirit potatoes to him and said, "Dean, they'll get struck in another pit so that I can hide from the others later." Dean Huangfu took the roasted spirit potatoes with a dumbfounded look on his face. Then, he watched Yun Chuzhou get struck by lightning while eating the roasted spirit potatoes. Chapter 11:43 Roasting spiritual potatoes. After more than 2 hours, other than 2 deep pits on the ground, Yun Chuzhou was not only unharmed, but she had also roasted a pile of spiritual potatoes. Wu Yun in the sky was trembling with anger. This was too much. This was too much. How could such a perverted little monster appear in the Tianyuan continent? Last time, they did not kill her and thought that they had underestimated their enemy. However, this time, they had already used all their strength. Why was it that they still could not kill her? Wu Yun was naturally unwilling to give up, and lightning struck down one after another. The 3 malefic stars in Yun Chuzhi's body hadn't eaten their fill last time, and now they were letting out Huan Er's swallowing of the lightning spiritual force that was continuously surging into Yun Chuzhi's body. The black bead was especially like a black hole that couldn't be filled. It always looked like it was starving to death. Although the lightning spiritual force was very violent, Yun Chuzhi's tendons and meridians had already become very strong after several times of washing. Therefore, although these lightning strikes were fierce and earth-shattering, to Yun Chuzhou, it was just a mobile power source to replenish the lightning spiritual force. 6 hours had passed, but Yun Chuzhou was still unharmed. This fellow felt that roasting the spiritual potato was not difficult anymore. He took out a snow rabbit and started to roast it. He used his body to block the heat and had a great time. Wu Yun was so angry that he was about to cry. Wu, the baby had never met such a pervert. He was so angry that he was going to die. Deputy Dean Yin, who was standing outside the courtyard, initially stood quite far away. However, when he saw that there was nothing much going on, and he was really curious about what was happening in the courtyard, he subconsciously got closer and closer to the courtyard. Wu Yun, who was in the sky, clearly had a good memory. Damn it, it was this person who had insisted on staying so close to the child that he owed him. He was accidentally struck by them, and in the end, they were all punished. Today, he shamelessly came forward again. This was a blatant provocation. Damn it, if we can't kill the little pervert, why can't we kill you? Deputy Dean Yin was stretching his neck to look into the courtyard when several bolts of heavenly lightning struck down on him. Deputy Dean Yin's mood was like that of a mad dog. Was there something wrong with these heavenly lightning bolts? Why are they always striking him? Deputy Dean Yin had learned his lesson from last time. After using his spiritual energy barrier to block the lightning bolts, he ran all the way. In any case, these lightning bolts were coming for Yun Chuzhou. As he was a little further away from the courtyard, he reckoned that they wouldn't chase after him anymore. Clearly, Deputy Dean Yin had underestimated the wrath of the lightning bolts. A piece of dark cloud chased closely behind him. It struck Deputy Dean Yin until he vomited blood and fell to the ground. Only then did it float back to the top of Dean Huangfu's courtyard. The dark clouds discussed among themselves. In any case, they wouldn't be able to kill this little pervert today. Let's call it a day. Yun Chuzhou saw that the dark clouds had stopped striking and looked like they were going to float away. She hurriedly shouted, "Hey, don't go. Just strike a little longer." Wu Yun was so angry that he was trembling. This was the first time he had met someone who asked them to strike a little longer. This person wasn't even human. He was just a pervert. "I'll sing a song for you guys. It's specially written for you guys. You guys will be very touched after listening to my song. After you're done, you can stay for a while longer. You're the most beautiful cloud in the sky. You asked me to keep you with all my heart. You're the most beautiful cloud in my heart. Why didn't I let you stay?" After listening to Yun Chujia's song, not only did Wu Yun not stay, she ran even faster. Damn it, this little pervert must be up to no good. Why did she keep them here? Who knows, there might still be some bad tricks waiting for us. They should just run away quickly. The next mission to split her up should be up to them. They would never want to see this little pervert again. Chapter 1144, Leaning against a big tree to enjoy the shade. Dean Huangfu held the roasted spiritual potato in his hand with a dumbfounded look on his face. Why was it sung? Why did the dark clouds look like they were fleeing in panic? Was it the other way around? Logically speaking, it shouldn't be Yun Chujio who was afraid of the dark clouds. Why did he feel that it was Wu Yun who was afraid of Yun Chujio now? It was chaos. It was all chaotic. Just as Dean Huangfu was in a daze, he heard Yun Chujio sigh and say, "Sigh. Why did you leave just like that? These irresponsible heavenly lightning bolts, why don't you let me break through before leaving?" Dean Huangfu stood up immediately. "What did you say? Are you saying that you're going to break through?" Yun Chujio glanced at Dean Huangfu. "Yes, if I wasn't going to break through, why would these heavenly lightning bolts strike me?" Dean Huangfu felt that Yun Chujio was looking at him as if he was an idiot. Yun Chujio continued, "I've only broken through one level. Are you kidding me? I've been looking forward to this for a long time, but you only let me break through one level. This is too much. A bad review. I must get a bad review." Dean Huangfu felt that his brain wasn't enough. What did she mean by only breaking through one level? Normally, breaking through one layer meant breaking through one layer, right? From what you said, you would only be satisfied if you broke through several layers at once. Moreover, you said that you had broken through, so why did I look at your spirit energy level and see that it was still at the first layer of the spirit sect? That Yun Chujio, you said that you only broke through one layer. Why is your spirit energy level still at the first layer of the spirit sect? Dean Huangfu couldn't hold it in any longer. Yun Chujio was a shrewd person. Her words just now seemed to say that she was blabbering, but in reality, she was doing it on purpose. After such a long period of contact, she felt that Dean Huangfu wasn't a bad person. If she wanted to gain a foothold in the Tianyuan Academy and be able to contend with Deputy Dean Yin, she could only do so by obtaining Dean Huangfu's protection. If she wanted to obtain Dean Huangfu's protection, she first had to display her value and strength. Her value had already been more or less displayed. Firstly, there was a conflict between Dean Huangfu and Deputy Dean Yin. Dean Huangfu had already used her hands to get rid of several of Deputy Dean Yin's lackeys. Secondly, the performance of the pretty boy and black chicken head the last time, Dean Huangfu would definitely re-evaluate her value. Now, she had to properly display her strength and once again consolidate the degree of importance he placed on her. In the future, it would be easier for her to rely on a big tree for shade. Other than being thick-skinned, Yun Chujie's biggest advantage was that she was able to climb up smoothly. In her previous life, she had also relied on these two methods to climb up to the position of a top agent in the organization. In the words of her good friend, Yun Chi, she had simply tricked her into becoming a top agent. After Yun Chujio had made up her mind, she began to adjust her spiritual power level. Dean Huangfu watched as Yun Chujia's spiritual power level slowly rose from the first level of the spirit sect all the way to the fourth level of the spirit sect. Dean Huangfu rubbed his eyes and pinched himself again. It hurt so much that he grinned. It seemed like it was true. But it was strange. How could he not see that Yun Chujio was hiding her cultivation with his cultivation? Could it be that she had some immortal artifact that hid her cultivation? Dean, to be honest, my body is a little special. If I didn't wear this hidden spirit ring, I wouldn't have any spiritual power fluctuations on me. In the fourth round of the entrance exam, it was because I didn't have any spiritual power fluctuations on me that I successfully obtained the Jade Token. Yun Chujio knew that in order to gain the trust of others, she had to show her sincerity. Unintentionally revealing her trump card was the greatest sincerity. Cough cough. Fortunately, she had enough trump cards, so there was no harm in revealing one or two of them. There was such a good place in chapter 1145 in order to prove that what she said was true. Yun Chujio put away the hidden spirit ring. As expected, there was no spiritual energy fluctuation on her body at all. Dean Huangfu couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. He had never heard that the heavenly thunder spirit root had such a strange attribute. This Yun Chujia's physique was very special. Wait, that wasn't right. The fourth level of the spirit sect. She had entered the school at the first level of the spirit sect. Didn't that mean that she had risen 2 levels after being struck by lightning last time? No wonder she had scolded the heavenly lightning for being irresponsible just now. It turned out that this guy had risen 2 levels in one go. That, Yun Chujio, you rose 2 levels after being struck by lightning last time. That's right. It's all because of this damn heavenly lightning being irresponsible. If it had been struck for another 4 hours, perhaps I would have risen another level. How detestable. Yun Chujio puffed her cheeks and said angrily. Dean Huangfu only had one thought in his mind at this moment. You really aren't satisfied. What else do you want to do if you want to level up in 2 months? Yun Chujio counted with her fingers and said, if we calculate according to the calculation of 2 levels in 2 months, when that little bitch Yin Xinlian and I are on the life and death arena, I will almost be able to break through to the first level of the Spirit Saint realm. This is great. This damn heavenly lightning has really set me up. I have to think of another way to speed up my level up. Dean Huangfu thought that he was knowledgeable, but he still felt that his brain was not enough when he met a weirdo like Yun Chujio. He asked almost subconsciously, what other way are you going to think of? Yun Chujio giggled. Dean, I was just about to ask you for advice. You are knowledgeable and knowledgeable. Help me think of a way. You can't just watch me go to the life and death arena to die, right? Dean Huangfu felt that he really owed his son. Why would he ask such a stupid question? It was obvious that this fellow was made of sticky candy. He might not be able to get rid of it once it was stuck to him. How can there be a shortcut to cultivation? If you advance too quickly and your foundation is unstable, you will have inner demons. You should just focus on your cultivation. As for the life and death platform, if it really doesn't work, you can just think of a way to delay it. After all, you have plenty of bad ideas, Dean Huangfu said unhappily. Dean, you've eaten quite a few roasted spiritual potatoes of mine. Are you just going to brush me off like that? It's really too heartbreaking. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she sat down on the ground and wiped her tears away. This fellow was cursing in his heart. You old fox, I don't believe that you have no idea what to do. When Yun Chujio cried like that, Dean Huangfu felt like he was an unpardonable evil person. He gritted his teeth and said, enough. Stop crying. If you can endure the pain, it's not impossible. Yun Chujio's eyes lit up, and the fellow immediately broke into a smile. Isn't it just a little pain? Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Dean, please tell me. What is the solution? If you want to break through quickly in a short period of time, you have to break through your own limits. Tianyuan Academy has a trial tower, and the demon beasts and environment inside are all illusory formations. Although they won't cause real harm to people, the various kinds of pain are no different from real feelings. Yun Chujio immediately jumped up from the ground. There is such a good place in our academy. Why didn't I know about it? Dean Huangfu glanced at her. Don't be happy too early. Because the demonic beasts inside are extremely savage and the environment is extremely harsh, only spirit saints would dare to enter the first level. Furthermore, without the spirit energy of the fourth level of the spirit saint realm, it is impossible for one to pass the first level. It is just to increase one's actual combat experience. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.